Yep.
I thought she was gonna throw up for a second. Don't throw up on screen. She was
How
doing
else
like
am I
the
supposed to go viral, Mom?
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Whoever said orange was the new pink was seriously disturbed.
And when it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me.
Just call me a fuck ass.
Brilliant. Scary. I get nasty when I'm horny.
Welcome to Not Another 2001 Movie Podcast, a show exploring movies released during the first year of a chaotic century. And it's almost graduation time, everybody. I'm Josh.
I'm Allison.
I'm Slate.
And I'm the only one paying attention to the show notes early on.
I know.
Here,
I had a stroke for a second.
What do you mean?
Allison was
I caught that.
staring.
Allison was on. Yeah, I was waiting
Yeah,
on
I guess
her.
I threw you under the bus, but you were good. Allison was.
I was just
somewhere
waiting
down.
on Allison. I was wondering what was going on there.
We're all entering this episode with various degrees of stressful things happening, and so this odd stressful episode is going to bring us some zen, everybody. So enjoy it as
Yeah.
we bring ourselves.
You know, the good thing about this episode is that we are right now. It is April that we're recording. This episode doesn't come out for a while, but that just means we're 6 months away from Halloween. I've already got my Halloween merch on today. It's like the first day Michael Myers pops out for me. Yeah, we're 6 months there. So it's all, spooky season is almost upon us. That is
I gotta start working on my Halloween costume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never too early.
So never too early. So, well, we'll scare the stress away watching a few slashers, and we'll be fine.
Hell yeah. Well, we were talking about a movie that would make you think it's about ghosts, but we just spent all of May talking about ghosts, and we're out of the actual ghost of movies for now. We'll get back to the spooky stuff later in the year. Before we get started, though, I want to engage with you guys and let the listeners know. Let's talk about songs that take us back to high school. But a song in particular, or whatever, however you kind of want to interpret that. There's a lot of ways you can go with it, I think. So I'm really excited to hear Allison's, because I can see
So
me.
I'll start since I'm the oldest, and I turn 44 tomorrow.
Well, Ray Charles had a really good album out when Allison was in high school.
Fats Domino was topping the charts. Mozart was really big.
and yet she still looks younger than both of us. So
Yeah, she was actually she's the expert in Amadeus, because she can tell you all the things
Yeah.
that are inaccurate
Yeah.
about that.
I wrote the
biopic.
screenplay for his biopic. Man, this was hard because there are several, but I did write down just like a few kind of hitting different things. One is Hypnotize by Notorious B.I.G. Just that song just took over my school. And like when you watch 10 Things I Hate About You and she dances to it in that scene, I was like, oh, that didn't happen when I was in high school, but like that kind of vibe of like everyone just really loved that song. They played it at school dances. Any Counting Crows song, because I loved Counting Crows. All my friends and I were into it. That was the first sort of real concert that I got to go to, and got to take two friends and got Adam Duritz to, sign our ticket stub.
there's something with your generation about Counting Crows. Because
there's a new documentary on HBO, The Music Box, on Counting Crows that I watch.
I need to check that out. One of my best friends, him and his wife, they're probably about your age. She loves Counting Crows. Like, they go to every Counting Crows concert they can possibly go to, which is weird because like they're a good band, but like commercially they are not like a super successful, but they have like a huge like cult following, and it seems to be like specifically your generation that's like loves
They
them,
hit
so.
at just the exact right time, and Adam Duritz is so earnest, and there was just something about like his lyrics, and
He's
looked
depressing.
weird. he's mopey, and yeah, it was like catnip for women of my age, I think.
They were. I've actually seen them as well, and it was because they were at Railbird the one time I went.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like they were either the headliner or like the next to. I think they were the headliner for one of the nights, and I got to see Mr. Jones, and I was tanked, and my sister was even more tanked, and she's the one that dragged me to it. It was great. It was funny when we went. She offered to buy the ticket, and I said, because there was like one guy lower down the card that she like fell in love with that she saw at a dive bar in Columbus, and then decided the next day she wanted to come see him because he was going to be in Lexington. And I said, that's Railbird. That's a festival. Just be aware, like, if you're going to buy tickets, like, and then she bought the ticket and she's like, they're fucking $200 a ticket. I was like, I told you. Like, and so she paid for the tickets and my ticket, which was great. But then I was like, well, I'll buy all our alcohol. And so like 5 beers in, her ticket was paid for, or my ticket was paid for, because everything cost like $22 to get a Bud Light.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wild.
It's fun, but it's a festivals are a. I'm not the biggest fan anyway. I would not have gone if not for like her just kind of really being excited about it and wanting someone local to go with her. But whew, like
I think I'm too old for festivals.
Oh, I will be going to Louder Than Life this year. Whew. Ice Nine Kills and Limp Bizkit the same day. Let's go.
Oh, so you're going? You talk yourself into it?
Yeah. I mean, I have to. It's crazy. We went to Comic-Con and you stop by the Scarefest booth, and like there's a pretty good chance that we might catch a Ice Nine Kills show, like smaller venue, private thing while they're, and if that happens, I'll be excited. And yeah, I feel bad though, man. Like my daughter is obsessed with Ice Nine Kills now, and that is not typically, a band that an 8-year-old would fall in love with, but she loves it. Like she loves everything that she's ever listened to from them that like pertains to any horror movie. Even if she hasn't seen the horror movie, she just digs it. She likes the way they create their music and the genres. So it's cool. And like told her, I said, we'll get you to meet Spencer at the Scarefest, and we tell him like, I just can't put you in that crowd. It's too dangerous. Maybe we'll put you on stage and we just have to watch from the side and you can go to a show. Because I'm not taking you to a show unless you're like 16. So she got about 8 years. So, but
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to trample all over it. Yeah.
2 other quick things. If you know the Green Day song "Time of Your Life," that came out when I was a senior, so of course.
So you were the first ones to make it a graduation
song. It was our
song.
senior song, and
Damn you all to hell
played
for that.
during our senior video during like prom.
Vitamin C too.
But yeah, Vitamin C came out in 1999 or 2000. I can't remember, but it was right around the time I graduated. But this is one that is very personal to me as opposed to being cultural. But do you all know who the Bloodhound Gang are?
Yes.
Sweat,
you
baby,
and me,
sweat,
baby. Ain't nothing but mammals.
I was a fan of the Bloodhound Gang from the song Fire, Water, Burn back in the 90s. Like, we don't need no water, let the motherfucker burn. And back then they ran like an online fan club, and because early days of internet, they were very talkative with fans. So me and my friend were like conversing with the bassist and the guitarist.
Is this how you met 14, the people you were sending pictures to?
Did not send them pictures. Actually, maybe I did. I can't remember. Anyway, they did an online...
Yo, man.
They
you got
did
Victor
an
Salva
online...
2.0.
You know what?
Crazy.
Okay, no, we did, but it was because they did an online competition. Like, hey, fans, make a music video of one of our songs and submit the video, and we'll pick a winner and give them a prize and blah blah blah. So my friend and I like got her brother and his friends and stuff and made this like very shitty VHS home video filmed at my parents' house that we edited and put together, and we didn't win. But they did consider us the runner-up, and the guitarist called me and my friend. And
wow!
And I remember I had sent them a picture of us with the submission so they could see who was sending it. It wasn't anything weird. It wasn't me in my cheerleading outfit, like it was with the other guy.
Save that for internet lovers.
So as a acknowledgement of a thank you for being runner-up. he said, "We're going to thank you in the liner notes of our next album. So how do you want your name?" I was like, "Okay, Allison K. Perry." Do you know what their next album was called? Which is the ones you all... Hooray for Boobies.
Allison, you're in the notes?
I am.
Oh,
The notes.
Oh, fucking God!
Being thanked in Hooray for Boobies.
14-year-old Allison is in the notes. The liner notes for Hooray for Boobies.
It's my true claim to fame.
You are a fucking legend, dude.
You've been holding out.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Oh, I will never think of the Bloodhound Gang the same again.
So, any Bloodhound Gang song, doesn't matter when it came out, takes me back to that time in high school.
Oh, my God.
You buried the lead, Allison.
Let's save the best for last.
Oh, that's absurd.
Oh,
that's absurd.
My
Did
God.
you show your mom and dad? Look, I'm in the notes for this band.
Well, I remember I told them, and then when the actual album came out, I was like, oh.
Hooray for Boobies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I am definitely not going to top that.
Man, I bet I can find a picture of it online. Continue.
Yeah, no, you're good. I mean, I'm not going to top that at all. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think super duper hard about this one because the first thing that came to my mind, I think fit my generation, especially where I came from. And so if I would just be skipping over history if I didn't mention it. So for me in high school, really it was two things, and they were both Lil Wayne projects. The Drought 3 mixtape is one of the greatest mixtapes of all time. And as somebody who, of course, everybody in my high school was bumping Lil Wayne when I was in high school. As somebody who doesn't love most of the majority of his music now, the Drought 3 and the Carter 3 will always take me back to high school. I can still go word for word on damn near every single song on those projects. The Carter 3 was the album my junior and senior year that everybody was bumping all the time, even the songs that didn't make the radio, Dr. Carter, the song he did with Jay-Z, Mr. Carter, Let the Beat Build, just all of that. And then, of course, the cool thing about the Drought 3 was that he was taking everybody else's music, took their beats and freestyling over it. So he took, Top Back from T.I. and just destroyed it without even writing anything on it. And then he took Beyonce's Upgrade You and rapped on that. And it was, some of the coolest shit. People still will say, lines from that, I'm a monster. Every day is Halloween. All that stuff. Just it's it just transcended. And so fun fact, I was on a radio show. This would be my claim to fame, okay, Allison? I was on a radio show in I think it was my junior year. The same when I won the prom date, right? I told you guys that story when I won the prom date.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when we went to that prom my junior year, of course, Lollipop was the big song. And I want to say it was Shelby County, but we're out on the dance floor, Lollipop's playing, everybody's grinding, not leaving room for Jesus, and somebody just takes a wad of money and starts throwing money in the air.
Making it rain.
Making it rain on the prom crowd. My mom was blown. I was like, damn, these kids is rich. What? What are we doing here? That's what we do at prom? That ain't happening in Clarksville's prom. I promise you that. That'd be a fist fight, bro. So yeah, that's what reminds me of high school, Lil Wayne, that stuff. And all the baseball games and trips on the buses and my travel ball, playing American Legion baseball. There was a group of us, there were 4 dudes that were a couple of us from Clarksville and a couple of us from Providence who were 2 rival schools. We all became really tight, and we all rode together to all the games and tournaments that were 2-3 hours away. And that's what we played. Lil Wayne the whole fucking way. So Lil Wayne, Kanye West, Jeezy were 3 big things that will always take me back to high school.
Right on. I asked this question and don't really have a great answer, to be honest, because I mostly just thought about the thing. Because my music memories, I was thinking I did go to prom because that was not the origination of my now marriage, but it was a stepping stone towards it, I guess, in the grand scheme of our knowing each other. But we didn't go to prom together. We just danced towards the end of it. I mean, it's like I don't even remember the song we danced to. Like I don't remember. Like I just don't remember a whole lot about that. Not really, other than like anything that happened at the prom. Except I did dance. There was another girl I danced with that I had a crush on. I went to prom with a girl and ended up dancing with a lot of other girls while I was there. But it was hot in here with Nelly. But that was like 7 or 8.
That came out in like
yeah, it was like we were in middle
grade.
school like when that came out, I think. But I remember that being still a big thing. And the other one, Shake Your Tail Feather. That was another one.
That was middle school too, though.
yeah. So that was kind of like we're Martin County is like Eastern Kentucky is like usually 6 or 7 years behind. The trends. But we did like I was part of so I listened to a lot of country music, but like I even kind of went back and was like trying to refresh my memory, like what was even popular then. It's like I listened to that stuff, but like none of it, like I don't remember it being something like I was banging out the Joe Diffie and stuff, back even then, like, and that was old. But what was really timely for me in high school was like the pop punk stuff, emo punk stuff, like that's like the stuff anymore. I kind of revisit that. If I don't listen to a lot of music really, other than things that come up with now we listen to a lot of stuff with Jason, and that's like the stuff I end up having him listen to a lot of, oddly. I don't know why really, but that's what I go back to is like the Fall Out Boys, Paramours, like that kind of Newfound Glory, Offspring. Like the Offspring is something that I've been revisiting a lot, and like he loves it, so that's like great. Like let's go. Like so like You're Gonna Go Far, Kid is one of the things that came out while we were in high school that I really love. But again, it was like I wasn't really sharing that with anybody. But as far as like graduation songs, so we voted. I was class president, and it basically everybody in the whatever the board, whatever the hell you call the council or whatever, when you like your vice president, all the fake shit treasurer, like we had a fucking treasurer didn't have no money, like what are we doing?
Fake.
And we're all of my friends, like we were all like really tight, we were all like the nerdy like band kids, like, and it was like even for class president it was so funny because like I was like running against some girl that really wanted it, like she really wanted it. It was like this was going to be her claim to fame, like her greatest highest honor. And I was I ran because people asked me to, but it was like, so I was like the low level, like I'm gonna go talk to the weirdos that aren't us weirdos to go get them to vote for me, and that's what put it over the top. So I ended up being the class president, and we vetoed the Green Day song because we're like, this shit is
played out.
It's played out. It's a great song, love it, but like no, we ain't doing it. Like we just outright refused to do it. So we basically took over the thing and redid another vote. And the song that did win is one that I'm actually really happy won. It's called The Great Escape. It's by Boys Like Girls is the name of the band. They're like a pop punk band. And it was like, they had like a handful of hits, and that was like probably their biggest one. And it's kind of the same themes. It's a much upbeat kind of like rock song, and I think it's more emblematic of the era that we graduated in. And so that's my real like high school story. Like we overturned Green Day for a much less impactful band in the grand scheme of the history of music, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Well, this is in high school, but going back to like vivid memories, if you were in Clarksville High School, or you had walked into Clarksville High School, if you had walked into a Clarksville middle school dance anytime between 2001 to 2004, and you had decided to walk in while Get Low by Lil Jon and the East Side Boys and Yin Yang Twins or Freak a Leak by P.D. Pablo was playing, you would see some of the nastiest fucking shit any 12-year-old or 13, 14-year-old was ever doing. And I cannot believe that shit went down. It was wild.
It's fun. I'm putting together so my cycling class this week. I was like, it's my birthday, and I'm doing songs from when I was in college, and that was that era. And I'm looking through, and I'm like, damn.
You got to start it in the club.
There's
then.
some-
If it's your birthday, you got to hit with the goat
There's
shawty.
some nasty shit.
Yes.
I remember them bumping. We were putting together, like, building a set for a middle school play, and it was like we were doing Annie or something, and for some reason we had "It's Your Birthday" as part of the show. Like that's we were incorporating contemporary
You're
music.
doing the Jay-Z, "It's a Hard Knock Life."
We might.
Yeah.
I
That's
bet
the
we
samples.
did. I bet we
They
did.
definitely
We
did.
definitely did. I was Daddy
Definitely did.
Warbucks in that play too. By the way, that was my life.
That's
It was really
My-
awkward too because Annie was a girl that I'd crushed on forever. Like, and it was like, that's weird.
my that is a little weird. Yeah, my middle school dances and high school dances have made me scarred for life as far as like not wanting my daughter to ever go to a school dance because if they're even half as bad as mine, no.
See, I think
I'm
we
just not gonna do it.
trailblazed the because like a lot of that like the hip hop stuff especially was so raunchy even when it wasn't raunchy.
It's not.
and-
I was
and
like, I don't.
it's kind of
not-
gone. Like,
It's swung back the other way a little bit.
and
Wow.
Allison's lucky that they hadn't invented music yet when she was in middle school. So.
Right. I'm a dance her.
We were cranking an old
graduation
phonograph
song.
with the giant ear horn.
Oh, so
right.
Well,
we're talking about music.
one of these days, you guys will have to get me to tell the time I attended a Uncle Luke from Two Live Crew booty shaking contest on spring break. One of these days, I'll have to tell that story. All right.
All right, let's
Go ahead,
Make
Josh.
sure we cater a question to that down the road.
Yeah.
We're talking about
Oh,
music
man.
because it's at the center. I would say at the center of the movie we're talking about today, Ghost World. Art and curation and collecting of music and art and things is all there. But music, I think, is really really essential to it. So let's talk about Ghost World, guys. Let's go.
Do you have any other old records besides these?
Seymour does.
Who does?
Oh, him. Seymour. He's the man with the records.
Do you have any old Indian records?
Indian records?
Yeah, like old Indian 1960s rock and roll music.
I may have one Hindu 78 in my collection from the 20s, but it's not really for sale. I don't really collect foreign. Those are all 78s. You play 78s?
Oh, maybe not 78s, but I can play regular records.
Well, there's some good stuff in here. You like old music?
Yeah, it's good.
Well, there's some choice LPs in here that reissue some really great old blues stuff.
How about this one? Is it any good?
Nah, that one's not so great. Excuse me. This is the one I'd recommend. And this track alone by Memphis Mini is worth about $500 if you own the original 78. I know the guy who owns the original and lent it for use on this reissue.
Wow. How much is it?
$1.75. If you don't like it, you can bring it back for a refund. We're here every Saturday.
I'm sure it's okay.
It was released on July 20th of 2001. Obviously, it's Wiki. I thought this was interesting. They categorize it as a black comedy, and I think that's probably the fairest way to describe it. But I don't know. I think when I think of black comedy, I think of something a little different than like this. I don't know how you guys
I would call it a dramedy.
That's
Yeah,
more where I
yeah.
would go to, I think.
I think it starts as a black comedy. Like the first 45 minutes to an hour of the movie, you're not really sure if there's much of a plot to it, and it is really like dry humor for the most part. And then it starts to really develop into a story that becomes more of a dramatic turn as far as like the film goes, at least in my view.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, dramedy is a great. I was like trying to find a word to describe it, and like it's not like a foreign word to me. I just couldn't clock it when I was putting together the notes. Like, what would I call this? Dramedy. That's what I'm good with. Terry Zwigoff. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's how it reads, so that's how I'm doing it. He is the director, a former underground comics creator, and comics is spelled in that sense with an X because it's edgy.
Is it? I was gonna say because it's so edgy.
Because it's 2001.
Yeah.
Well, and he was doing that in like the 70s, and it was really, they kind of did it to almost like self-brand, like these aren't for kids, like this is more like a out of the mainstream sort of thing. So, but the X being edgy is the thing that kind of just starts to take root, so it kind of looks silly a little bit in hindsight, but it made sense, I think, at the time when they were doing it. It's interesting. Ghost World, he's only directed 3 features. As of recording, he's only directed 3 features, scripted features. And scripted Ghost World was the first one. He followed it up with Bad Santa, which I would guess everyone on this screen has seen probably at least once. I'm a fan of Bad Santa. It's been a while since I've watched it. I'd like to revisit it now, and I wish I had. And Art School Confidential, which I have not seen, but it is also a comic adaptation, and it's something I've seen. Oddly, I remember seeing it a lot at dollar stores, like the DVD. Like, that's my weird Art School Confidential connection, which might say something about how well watched it was, but I don't remember.
So did he not have anything to do with Bad Santa 2 then?
Mm-mm. He just did
Badder
the first
Santa.
one. And I don't know if I've even seen the Badder Santa.
See, I thought it was Bad Santa 2. I thought Badder Santa was the unrated version.
An unrated version.
That was the unrated version of the original film, was Badder Santa, and then there was a Bad Santa 2.
He did direct a TV pilot that was part of a competition, an Amazon competition, but it didn't get picked up. It was called Budding Prospects. It was also it was a book adaptation. Art School Confidential was a comic adaptation like Ghost World, but so yeah, that didn't go anywhere. So, and it's weird. I don't know if he's you read a little bit around it, you get the impression maybe he's a little hard to work with, possibly. But I don't know. I think that kind of just becomes the thing people say about people who don't work too. So I don't know how much to buy into that. But whatever. He made a few movies. He's one of the few directors we'll talk about this entire year that you could watch his entire filmography in a day if you really wanted to. So there's that. He's got that going for him. But this Ghost World was not his first feature. He directed 2 documentaries before that. 1985's Louis Bluey, which is about a musician named Howard Louis Bluey Armstrong, not the Louis Armstrong. He's more of an underground guy. And then in 1994, he directed a documentary about his friend Robert Crumb, who goes by R. Crumb. He's a comic book artist, and I watched this, and it's available on Tubi, and I would encourage you. I think it is the most, at least of what I've seen, it feels really close to Ghost World, even though it's a much different movie, but you can see the things that like Ghost World is sort of thematically getting at a little bit in it, and there's some kind of interesting imagery that I think is almost one-to-one in Ghost World, and some of that's because he commissioned Robert Crumb's daughter. I may have her names here later in the notes. Sorry, listeners, I don't have it right in front of me. But he later commissioned his daughter, Robert Crumb's daughter, to do some of the drawings that are seen throughout Ghost World. So there is a piece of that family in Ghost World. And in the documentary, she's like a little girl. She's like 7 or 8 years old. So it's kind of cool seeing that. Both of those movies and Ghost World are part of the Criterion Collection, which is why we're talking about this today. It was my selection in the draft, and as of this episode's release, we will have we will have talked about every...
It's okay. That's just how the day's going.
It is a day, guys.
We will have talked about every movie in that category. We talked about the others last month with Allison and Marilee, who was great to join us. That was a fun episode, and the others absolutely matters in some ways. And then in Mulholland Drive back in Oscars month, go back and listen to that if you'd like to. Both of those episodes, I think all the Criterion, every episode's great, but I think these ones are really fun because of just kind of the level of quote unquote import they're sort of given in movie bro culture. We still have The Devil's Backbone. The Devil's Backbone.
Backbone
to talk about, which was my I'm Scared Dog pick also. And there's room. I think we could probably talk about more of those if we'd like to down the road. We don't have to talk about that now, but at the time when our draft, I did want to call this out. When we drafted, there were only 12 movies eligible. And in the time since we drafted, there have been 2 other movies released in the Criterion Collection. The Man Who Wasn't There, which was directed by the Coen brothers, and honestly may have been my pick if it had existed. So I'm kind of glad it wasn't, though, because I think this is maybe a better movie to talk about. And John Singleton's Baby Boy, which I've not watched, but I know Slate's a big fan of. And
I would love to talk about that movie and the impact of Tupac's death that it had on that film. So
yeah, those are both, I'd be down to talk about everything in the Criterion Collection over the course, but that might be tough, but we'll probably get around to a few more of those as bonus episodes down the road.
I'm always down for a Coen Brothers movie too, so
it's really good.
Bonus episode it.
It's really good. And it was there was a while there where it's on like previous releases, it's only directed by one of the guys. I don't remember which one, but it's like for a while they could only list one of them as a director because of like the Academy rules or something. It's like, God, of course, like there's so much stupid shit like the Academy Awards. So I mentioned it. Ghost World was adapted from a comic. It's actually a comic serial. It was written and drawn by a man named Daniel Clowes. Again, I might be mispronouncing that name, but it was published across 8 issues of the actual comic 8-Ball. It's called 8-Ball that he does, and that was the 8-Ball was published for 15 years from October 1989 to June 2004, which sounds like it would be like, whoa, like that's a lot of comic books. There were only 23 issues published during that time, so it's a very, very much an indie project, and underground in its sensibilities. It won a lot of industry awards though because of a lot of that and the subversiveness and just I think the independent spirit of it. It won 4 Eisner Awards, which are kind of like the Oscars of comic books, 14 Harvey Awards, which is another industry award, and 5 Ignatz Awards, and that's more like focused on smaller publications. So kind of makes sense that it would win a few of those. Ghost World was released as a collected edition, and it's interesting, like seeing it that way versus I wonder what it would have been like reading it serially versus like in a collected form, because I think that kind of affects how it sits with you a little bit. But the book and the movie, there's differences, and I don't think we really need to get into that. I did read it. It's really fast, like it's only like 70 pages or something. But I don't think it's something you have to have read it to really have a big appreciation for the movie. In fact, I think there's a lot of things maybe the movie does better. It did win, or it did get nominated for an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. Clowes and Clowes and Zwigoff wrote that. It lost to our friend A Beautiful Mind, which we all are very much a fan of, and would never talk for 3 hours about how mid it is.
I haven't even read the Ghost World comics, and I still say it should have beat A Beautiful Mind. I'm just gonna make that declaration.
Yeah, so obviously we talked about Fellowship of the Ring was also like an impressive adaptation that it also beat out, and I think one of these two probably should have won. Like I think you could, if it had been Lord of the Rings, I think that's totally cool, and this, but also like because of the things that it does to kind of build out what is a fairly short and really almost not grotesque, but there is a level of harshness to the comic that if they had really tried to go for it as like a really straight adaptation, it would have been it definitely would have been an uglier movie. Like, and I'm not saying uglier as in like visually, like uglier, like just feeling like gross. And that I think it would have been interesting, but I don't know that it would be as impactful now watching it. I think the way that Zwigoff and Clowes adapted it actually serves it well as a more contemporary movie.
Well, surely they didn't deviate from the original source material half as much for Ghost World or the Lord of the Rings as they did with A Beautiful Mind, which is completely like not even close to the original source material. So yeah, it's got that going for it for sure.
The biggest change from the book to the movie, in my opinion, is Seymour, the character played by.
I read that he was not a big character in the book.
So he's played by Steve Buscemi in the movie. A very pivotal character, literally in the movie. And in the book, he's a very minor character. He shows up in like the first issue. I think it's the first. It's either the first or second, and then doesn't show up again until the final issue in like the last few pages. And he's just kind of set dressing, honestly, in some ways, and something that Enid, the Thora Birch's character, talks about throughout the comic, but it's really not some. It's like more like some. They're similar in the sense, like in the movie, she has an obsession with Seymour, and in the book, she sort of has an obsession with Seymour. He's like a completely different. He's like something. He's like named different too. Like it's. I don't even like. He's just a very different character. But they build on that in the movie. Like that kind of thought in the book is what really kind of blossoms into the core story of the movie. And the book, in my opinion, it handles the relationship between Enid and Rebecca. I won't even say better, but it's like more of the focus. It feels more at the focus in the book. Whereas I think in the movie I think it is a core driver of the movie story as well, but the Seymour stuff kind of does overtake it a little bit more, whereas in the book it doesn't, because he's not really part of the story at all. So that's really the biggest change, and I think they both do an effective job at telling a good story. And so we can get into our reactions. What did you guys think about it? I don't feel like I've really said what I feel about this movie, but you can probably gather from how I'm speaking about it what I might think about it. But
so I was telling one of my coworkers today, I saw this not in 2001. I rented it. It was early aughts, so like close, maybe a couple of years after it came out. And I remember really identifying with those girls because I was basically close to that age and kind of understood transitioning to becoming an adult and like making bad decisions and that sort of thing. And watching it last week, I was like, I still kind of have that feeling, but also I'm like, God, these shitty teenagers. It's like I've 25 years of like, oh God, I can't believe I was ever like that.
So for me,
she was gonna throw up for a second. Don't throw up on screen.
How else am I supposed to go viral, Mom?
Oh my God!
But I like this movie. I should say that I still like it. I still find it such an interesting and compelling story. But yeah, it was just a different take this time around.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I was originally excited about the film based off of the fact that Thora Birch has just a presence about her in general that I was excited to see her on camera again, kind of dominating. I love Steve Buscemi. Like anything that he's in, I'm here for. And of course, my girl Scarlett Jo, this is her first big film, right? So I was excited about all of that. Knew nothing about the movie. I remember seeing the poster, but knew nothing about it and went into it completely blank. I didn't want to check the synopsis. I just wanted to watch it and see what happens, And
I'm not even sure how much the synopsis would have helped you. I don't remember what I read.
It doesn't. It wouldn't. It probably would have taken away from it.
Yeah, before you hopped on, Josh Slate and I were talking about it. He was just like, it doesn't really have a plot.
Yeah,
Sort of,
so
but
this is where I was at with it, is that like for the first hour or so, maybe hour and a half, it feels like it feels like if Superbad and Office Space had a baby, and it was, you know what I mean? Like it's very like, it's not nearly as raunchy, and the humor is completely different, but it is a coming of age story of, instead of high school boys, it's high school girls and trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives now that high school's over. And but also there's absolutely no plot. Like
and they're dealing with the mundane.
yeah, complete
Office Space.
mundane. And it's very, like I said, it's very dry humor. And I'm just like, okay, so is this just a character-based film here? Like, surely this is, like, you can't sell comics that are this just bland, right? Like, where's the story? I guess. I don't know. I'm just like, I was waiting on a story to happen. And it was interesting how it started to develop the further you went into the movie with Thora Birch's character, Enid, and like her struggling with a multitude of things, and then her friendship, relationship, whatever issues that she's having with Seymour, and it becomes a weird story, but it like keeps me interested the entire time. And you're like wondering, like, surely this grown-ass man is not about to hook up with this girl fresh out of high school, which doesn't age well. And, you know, and then, like, then it's like, all right, are they going to date? And then she, like, decides not to. I think it is an emotionally accurate movie that it actually kind of blows my mind in a sense that how well the men who wrote and directed the film and the comics and stuff are able to interpret and give what feels like an actual female representation that we were definitely not getting at this time. It's still a much very character-driven film, but the plot is there, and it's not like a deep plot, but it's more of like an emotional plot of trying to go through all the struggles with these characters that, like, you're just kind of wondering, how are they going to end it? Is everybody going to be okay, like, emotionally? And like, I enjoyed it. The ending is definitely open up for discussion as well. It's just one of those movies that, like, it's just one of those movies that, like, you could sit there, and if you're not like invested in it, feel like you wasted 2 hours of your time. But if you actually like give it the chance and like really try to connect with these characters on an emotional level, you could lead to a really good conversation about who these people are, the type of people they are, where they could be 10, 15 years from now type stuff. So I enjoyed it. It's a different movie. Cause like, for instance, I don't really care for Office Space. To me, it is a pointless fucking movie.
Oh, I love Office Space.
There's some funny shit in it. Like I
feel like I have lived Office Space. I identify with so much of it.
I quote stuff all the time about having 7 pieces of flair at work, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, like the red stapler guy and stuff, but burn this place to the ground. But it's still a really bad movie to me. Like, I quote it, but I don't like it. It's weird. I just don't. It's a movie about nothing.
It only took me 9 times to watch Anchorman before I thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too.
Luckily for you guys, I've only watched Office Space twice.
Yeah, you got to get Office Space back in the rotation.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Can we talk about Thora Birch though? Because to your point, I could not take my eyes off her. I thought she was so captivating.
Yep.
And I read a little bit about how they kind of intentionally oversaturated the movie a little bit to give it that comic book feel. And it's like, when they close up on her face, I'm just like, oh, just look at her. Like, her eyes are so blue, and even with the glasses and the hair,
it's
and
so
she just
colorful. Like,
she pops so much. And it's interesting in comparison with, we're seeing Scarlett Johansson in like an early role, and I'm like, God, she looks so plain.
Yeah, it's
and
wild.
all the boys in the movie are all over her, and I'm like, that fucking Thora Birch is right here, looking like hot as hell.
And
but she's got like the weird emo hot thing going on, right?
Yeah,
but they chose some very revealing or highlighting outfits for her too, to make, I mean, her. Sorry, this is respectfully. Her boobs are huge in this movie.
That's they're like her, but also they. I mean, I don't think it's bad to point that because that's part of what. Like, I mean, the whole thing is like it's not an adolescent story, but it's like you're in high school.
It's like adolescence to adulthood.
Yeah, like you're leaving that. It's like that transitional space, and that's you. It's not you. They don't really talk about feeling weird about their bodies necessarily, but like it's sort of like you sort of feel it, even though it's not even really spoken, and you think her boobs are big on screen, like you should see the comics, like some like the way like and they even talk about it in the book, and it's just it's interesting the way that they just approach some of that stuff, and I think what you said about ScarJo is particularly interesting too, because she is in The Man Who Wasn't There, the other movie that's now in the Criterion Collection, and not in a similar role, but she is like a high school kind of object of an affection of an older man in that movie versus what she's just the friend of that person in this movie, but she's so much more. I mean, she looks like ScarJo in that movie. Like she is very beautiful, young girl, but I don't know what age she was at this point, but I think she was an adult, and just like the contrast is crazy. It's like that's like even just knowing that, like seeing those two, like how she acts in both movies. It's like, oh, like this woman was destined to be a good actress. Like she was great in both of these roles. And she's a supporting character in both movies. It's not like she's like a big part of either movie.
She doesn't have that signature like ScarJo rasp yet to her voice. She's like mumbling a lot through this movie, like an awkward teenager.
Well, and the tension between her and Enid in the film is one that like they do a really good job of like building it up very slowly and slowly and slowly, and like her when she's like, I'm so sick of Seymour, and that like all of that, like that whole relationship between them and watching it start to crumble is like some of the most interesting stuff of the film. Like it's like I don't know why.
Well, and that's what.
But it is.
So I did mention like I felt like the movie is a little less about their relationship than the book, but I don't even know that if I necessarily feel that 100%, because Seymour is a huge part of this, and so for the listener, if you haven't watched this one, you should. But Seymour is like this record collector, kind of like middle age, maybe older than middle age.
I think is that what you had in your notes?
Yeah, quintessential dweeb. Yeah, that's the I think the way I phrase it. And he is. He's just like an obsession, like this weird guy in town that Enid kind of takes a fondness for, and eventually has a relationship with him that's built around the idea of finding him a girlfriend, and she eventually sleeps with him, and it kind of leads to this kind of aha moment for her a little bit. But yeah, like as Seymour becomes a bigger part of Enid's life, Rebecca kind of gets put to the side, even though Rebecca's sort of also she's trying to get Enid to get an apartment with her and do all this stuff to keep their relationship, sustain this relationship that they've had for, since childhood. And it isn't. So I still think the movie is really at its core about that. It's just the Seymour stuff adds a different dimension to it that I think it serves Enid really well as a character to kind of flesh her out a lot more too.
So I think Seymour is there as another case of Arrested Development. So it's the tension between you're watching two girls who I guess were on the same wavelength in high school, but one is quote unquote maturing and thinking about her future and taking steps toward becoming a functioning adult, and the other one is still doing this fuck the establishment and
yeah, Rebecca's
I'm cool
taking
and
the
artsy
normal
and
path.
I'm punk and you kind of see that divide starting to happen, and then she finds Seymour and like, oh, this guy is counterculture and weird, and he's kind of feeding that part of her, so she's not maturing, and meanwhile Rebecca's over here like becoming a self-sufficient. I think it just really highlights kind of the difference in maturity levels between the two of them.
The punk outfit was really fun. Like That like when she's like upset that they didn't recognize like the vintage look that she.
That's
was
one of the
going
things
for
ripped right out of the
specific year.
comics. Like is the way
I
they
didn't
go
even-
about that.
I took it that they did recognize it, but they were just telling her it was lame, and she's just claiming that they
Yeah,
didn't recognize
she's trying to
it.
defend
It's
it.
fair. That's probably probably. But that was really fun. As far as like the thing with Seymour and with her, it's okay. I think the most intriguing part about Thora Birch's character Enid in this movie and her performance is, are we sure that she's a good person? I would say
She's
no.
a shitty teenager.
Yeah,
But
You know?
but are we sure that she's a shitty person too? I would say no, because she clearly
No.
cares about like the guy who's coming to the bus stop every day, and she does care about Seymour, and like she like is struggling with, like you said, being a teenager and like emotions everywhere, and so she has her redeeming moments, and then she has her really fucking awful moments, like taking the painting from Seymour of the racist
the chicken.
the chicken,
Coon?
yeah.
What do they call it? The
Coon house chicken or coon chicken.
it's
Yeah.
it's-
But if she had been there and had been able to explain the artwork, I think it would have been a great message, right? It probably still would have got Seymour in trouble. But like if she was able to say like, yeah, no, like this is how fucked up this stuff is, and like this is a political statement against like why we shouldn't be fucking supporting Cook's Chicken because they're racist assholes. You know, like and that would have been almost like a movie ahead of its time, because now we're in this whole cancel culture situation. So they kind of like were right there and then missed it. You know what I mean? But like it's weird because like she has these moments where you're like waiting for her to finally have that aha moment and get her change of heart or do something to make something right. And it's almost like she lets us down every step, but we're still rooting for her.
She's
And-
not yet mature enough to understand the consequences of the things that she says and does, and
Or
I
doesn't
think
do.
this is something that I identified so much with. You know, they play it's really her leading the prank on Seymour, which is cruel. Of
Yeah, it's fucked
pretending
up.
to be a woman that he placed an ad like, oh, I met you on a train or whatever, and you know, if you want to meet up, call me. And they pretend to be this woman so they can watch him show up at a diner alone and look like a loser. And it's so awful. And then I guess she feels so bad from that she overcompensates by kind of forcing her way into his life. But it's
Do you think
Which is
she's doing that to
interesting because-
overcompensate though? Because I feel like she's just legitimately interested in him because of how weird he is.
I kinda
which
think that-
well, I
matches
think
her
I think
weird.
it starts off where she's trying to be like, oh, I got to make this right
and then
with
she
him,
kind of
and-
latches on like
and
to
then
that
kind of latches
feeling.
on. But
And I-
it's that classic, like, she is a young girl and I don't think understands. I looked up how old Steve Buscemi. He was like 39 or something.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna
Or
guess.
no, he was
like
early.
in
He
his
was early
40s.
40s, I think.
I was
whenever-
guessing 40s when that happened. Yeah.
And to not understand, and this is going to make it sound like I'm blaming her. I don't mean it to come across that way, but you know, older men are always saying like, young girls are, oh, you led me on, you leading me on. And I don't think she understands that that's how she could come across by
Yeah.
being so involved in his life. She's just thinking of it like, this guy's cool and weird and we're going to be friends. I'm going to find him a girlfriend and make his life better.
But like
What-
Seymour doesn't even make a pass at her. He's very respectful of like their friendship and like not trying to see her sexually. She's the one that like puts him in that situation. Now, as a grown ass man, he should have known better than to ever put himself in that situation. Like, I am not victim blaming, and there's not really a victim in this. If anything, it probably is Seymour. But like, he should have known better. But also, like, she's the one that forced that hand. And then when she has her aha moment, when she's in bed and she realizes, like, oh, I don't know why
Like,
I
I
did
don't want this. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is like I
It's
don't even
sad,
think about
man.
their like it is sad for both of them, but I think like I don't like the age thing is a dynamic that you can talk about, and it matters. It definitely matters. But I don't even think about it. It's a different story if he's not 40. Like it just is. Like I acknowledge that. But it's not like I don't. It does matter, but to me it's more like it's more of a thing that's just there in the way at least the way I feel. I think it adds to the story, but it doesn't. It's more about like this obsession with this weirdo to me, like this, like that she takes on, and what you were getting at, Allison, like you mentioned that it starts out as a prank. What I think is interesting is like Rebecca. That's where it kind of like starts splintering off for her, ScarJo's character, because she doesn't. Later on, she's like, I'm sick of Seymour. Like she was done with it after the prank, kind of like she kind of felt like she didn't want it. She's like, and that's even though she did something shitty by being involved with the prank, she was like already kind of like, okay, we've done this, like we need to grow up and go on. So she's already, that's sort of like the subtle like, oh, Rebecca is further ahead of you. And then when you talk about maturity, it's like, I don't know, is it immature for Enid to be interested in this person? I don't think it's immature for her to be interested in him, but now the way she like acts on it is what gets
it's
you
like
into the
it's
impulse
like
stuff.
she doesn't understand how strange it is to be pushing to be friends with a single older man who's that
who
much
you've
older,
barely know,
who you've
like
yeah.
you barely met, like you went to his
whether
house
that's
and
her,
bought some records.
whether that's her just being naive or I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It is interesting though to think about that weird relationship in the context of when this movie was made, because they meet him like he's like trying to play a misconnections ad in a newspaper. Okay. Oh, yeah. For the young listeners, newspapers were these things that I used to work at.
Where Josh used to work at.
They came out back in Allison's time.
They were delivered by some 12-year-old kid on a bicycle, throwing them on your front porch if you paid a monthly subscription.
Yeah, it was great. It was better times. People actually knew the news. It was awesome. And now it's like it's weirder to think about, like in that time, like how a 18-year-old. I'm assuming she's 18. I mean, she could be 17. It's high school.
I was telling myself she had to be 18.
Yeah,
she's 18. They graduated. She's 18.
And
well, she could be 17 and not turn 18 until December.
Yeah,
we're gonna go with 18.
Yeah.
It's weird to think how in that point in time, especially how an 18-year-old would befriend a 40-year-old under any circumstances, let alone like getting into like fucking them at some point, but like just to be friend to someone that old. But also the perception of it would be weird, I think, if you were aware of it. But I don't know, would it have been as weird as it feels now? And I don't know, like
I think so. Like when I was in high school, I knew of girls who in high school had relations with older men that one of them may or may not have been a teacher. Yeah, and like it's one of those things.
Yeah, we had teachers come on as students while I was in high school, and it was a big thing. And but that was later. Like I'm not saying like I'm not saying.
No, this was like while she was a student, and then afterwards.
Yeah, one of my high school teachers also fired.
They were dating,
having sex with one of his students.
Yeah,
graduated.
So that's not happening in this movie, by the way, for anyone. Like that's at least like that's not happening.
We're getting off on a tangent.
But there was also girls like my age or around my age, even in college, that were like seeing dudes that were 30, 35, and I'm like, what is like why? It's just something that happens. So I mean, I think I would have raised some red flags about it and been like, I don't know if that's what you need or what you're looking for. Like that doesn't seem healthy. But
It's just reminded me when I would call. I was in middle school and would call my girlfriends, or there was one in particular, and her dad would pick up the phone and thought I was like 19. And like, and I don't know if he was just like thinking that, but like I did, like I think I had a deeper voice than I should have at the time, and I've always.
Hello, is Rebecca there?
Her name was Brittany, but but yeah, it's interesting. The movie, I think it's what makes me really love it is like this whole dissecting the relationships in it. And yeah, like the plot is kind of thin. Like it really is kind of like there's not a lot that happens, but like every character is really interesting to look at. Like I think even Rebecca, it's interesting to think about. Like even though she's kind of on the sidelines a lot, it's interesting to think about. That's that experience of being like the friend that is older and more aware, and not being able to impart that, even though you're trying to like help that person get to that point. Like, yeah, come get in an apartment with me. It's and you mentioned it, Slate, like how well they wrote these women, which is really, Allison, I would like to hear your thoughts on that, but like it feels really real, like to what like and universal. Like they are women, that matters. Like there's different things, but like I think this is a very universal, like just this struggle as kind of moving in from high school onto like whatever adulthood looks like for you as a person.
I feel Scarlett Johansson's character so hard as someone who's, I think, generally been a little more serious than most of my friends. And even now, I mean, I've got friends that I'm like, you need to get it together. And the having that same sort of like, oh, like what is wrong with you? And like,
yeah, stop hanging out with guys who dress like little people on
like
Halloween.
Getting fired after one day on a job and then being like, well, he was a total asshole. I'm like, okay, I don't think that's
her at the movie theater is so enjoyable though, when she's like toxic sludge and like just like talking about robbing them on the upcharge and all of that. Like that was really fun. Really fun.
Well, there is a part of me that like likes Enid as, and I identified with both of them in certain respects. And if I were to come down on one side or the other, I think I would rather Enid's way of the world be the way.
She's still pointing out the absurdity of the world, which is still really funny because a lot of it's so true.
And she has that friendship with the guy who's at the bus stop, the only person she can count on. And Josh, that's your guy at McDonald's, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he'll be gone someday, and it's sad to think about. And that's, there's a lot of, that was, the bus is interesting. Like we're kind of talking about the end there with, Enid.
I don't want to get there quite yet, though.
Okay, we can wait. But
there is one more thing I wanted to hit on. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was. I mean, I don't really know where I was going next, but I do think Enid. I mean, I identify with that. I don't know. It's interesting. Honestly, the character. This is gonna sound really sad. The character I identify the most with is Seymour. Like, as far as like, I am kind of that person. Like, not like I wasn't sleeping with people 22 years younger than me, but I am like this, like kind of like weirdo collector. Like I like kind of weird stuff, like in terms of like, and what's interesting though is like that person is also harder to perceive as a person today. Like they exist. I know they exist. We call them incels now, but it's harder to be that person. Like there's so many outlets to like share the things you like with people now that weren't.
I was gonna say it's so much more common to be someone like Buscemi's character, because 25 years ago it was weird to have this huge collection of and now like everybody's got Funko Pops and or that it's so much more common for people in the millennial age group to have these big collections of like pop culture shit, for lack of a better word.
But I dealt with, and you're 100% right, and I dealt with though like that, like just feeling like, I guess feeling like a loser. I don't know. I don't really know that I ever really felt that, but like that's like that part of like his sort of experience is what I sort of related to a little bit. And and it's just interesting to think about that because like watching it now, and it's like I'm watching a coming of age story, and like the character I feel like I most identify because I think Seymour's almost like coming of age, even though he's like middle age. He is also kind of still growing up in this story, and so it's really interesting to think about like what does it mean for that person in particular to still be trying to figure their shit out. And that's kind of, I mean, maybe the whole point of the movie is like, you're never going to figure out anything. And you're just, good luck, everybody. Go be adults.
It's so funny. Like, I had, like I said, I identify with both Enid and Rebecca. And like, Enid's kind of, she wants to keep that kind of like counterculture perspective on the world. And I feel like I keep some of that sort of cynicism. But then also when Rebecca's like, oh my God, this is so cool. Look, and it's the ironing board that folds down. I was like, I would 100% been like, thought that was like the coolest thing.
We see your ironing board back there.
Hanging on the door.
The thing that I wanted to visit before we got to the ending that I think that definitely needs to be talked about is the relationship with Dana, and like Seymour like growing into finding someone that's his age and gone through her struggles as well, and those two working together, and the tension that is there once Dana and Enid meet, and you can clearly tell that Dana is like, what is this? And
as she should
be.
Yeah, exactly. But that conversation should have been had on screen. Like, he basically like tells Enid that Dana doesn't understand why a 40-year-old man would be friends with an 18-year-old girl.
Reasonable.
Absolutely. Reasonable. Yes.
Yeah.
But I wish we'd have had that conversation and like Dana voicing that to Steve Buscemi's character. Why am I drawing a blank on his name right now? Seymour. I wish that we'd have had that because I think that's what the majority of the audience is feeling right at the same time. And then I also wish she had approached Enid aside from Seymour and had a conversation with her, like woman to woman, and just, I don't know. I think that you could have had more conversation there that would have been important to the subject matter at hand and also to the depths of the characters there. Because honestly, Dana is a pivotal part in the movie, but doesn't play a pivotal part in the movie, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I mean, she is kind of the character who really mostly just exists to, I guess, serve Seymour, like give him
to drive that divide between Seymour and Enid, but then like there's no real payoff with it in the sense because he's like forcing Enid away, and then Enid like forces her way over and comes in and steals her bottle of wine or whatever, gets drunk and has sex with Seymour, and then does he like call her right after busting his nut and say, "All right, sorry, I can't date you anymore"?
Well, he does.
You know what I mean?
Like, basically.
It kind of feels like that.
Yeah,
and it's also you're getting, on one hand, as the viewer, you feel like this is a good thing for him. And initially, that's how Enid's very excited that they went on a date, it went well. But then he just says like a few little things that kind of indicates that he's willing to compromise a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Dana says something like, "Oh, records, that's not really my thing." But it's just like, and Enid reacts to kind of hearing this with like, "How dare you?" Mm-hmm. And she starts to get so protective of him.
Yeah, she kind of becomes like the devil on his shoulder a little bit, and it's interesting because he's, I think Dana is she kind of represents the Seymour's, I guess, struggle to mature and to not give up the things he enjoys, because I don't get that impression that that's something she's necessarily demanding of him, but it's
I didn't think so either, but
I think it's just like it's more of like a natural like erosion, like if you're moving in with someone or you're starting to see someone, like they'll just start rubbing off on you in ways that you just kind of you don't notice until you notice, or in this case someone points it out to you, like the pants, like she makes fun of the pants, which look like perfectly fine pants, like they're normal pants, like, but that's kind of the point, like oh, you're not normal.
You're conforming.
You're conforming, And I just so I think that's that's largely her role in this movie. She's played by an actress named Stacey Travis. I had to look it up. Forgive me for not looking it up because she kind of is like the fourth biggest character in this movie, and she's just been in a lot of character roles. She's been in a lot of movies, but nothing. She's never been like a star of anything, as far as I can tell.
I kind of got the vibes of 40-Year-Old Virgin when she's trying to get him to sell the toys, and he's like, I like my toys, like
I laughed out loud when she's like, let's dance, and he's sitting there with that ice cream. He's like, no, and she's trying to get him to dance, and he's still holding the ice cream. She's like, let's put the ice cream down.
Like
she's teaching him like it's her 2-year-old child, like put the ice cream down, let's dance, and you can have more later,
Yeah, it's an odd coupling, I think. But I think it is like the kind of relationship that probably would have worked out for Seymour too. Like it seemed like it was a pretty like she was legitimately interested in. Like that's the thing. Like it's hard, I think, sometimes for if you're in that mindset as a man at least to accept that like, oh, this attractive woman who's my age and is a normal person is into me. And
has a good job, apparently.
Yeah, has a great job, it seems like. And also, that's the other thing. Like, he seems like a pretty good job, too. I would wager, like, he's an assistant manager at a corporate. He's not like the working in the fast food restaurant. He is working in the
corporate
office.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's a pretty good gig. Seymour's doing all right for himself.
Well, not anymore. He got fired.
Yeah,
he got fired.
Yeah, like he's out because he's set this racist caricature out into the world. He says something. I can't remember if I wrote it down in my notes. I think. Oh yeah. People still hate each other. So what happens in the movie, for the listener, if you haven't seen it, there's this plot point that revolves around Enid is like having to go to summer school, like a summer art school. And she takes in this found art object, which is a poster that Seymour had kept in his office at home from his workplace, which is this old, like, racist caricature of this chicken restaurant that is in the movie that he works for as in the corporate office. And it's like their whole backstory is about this restaurant being racist. It's like openly there's racist, and it's all its iconography, and they've kind of hid it, over time. And he says something at some point, like when they're talking about it, and people still hate each other, but they just know how to hide it better. And this is in 2001. This is 25 years ago. And I wonder how that hit then and how, because I interpret
we don't hide it anymore
now, and it's like, and there's like, I would never, no, we don't need these racist characters on chicken restaurants, so that's fucking awful. But I do kind of like align with that idea of like, I've always said, like, if someone's racist, I want to know it. Like, I want to just be it and say it, and then I know to like just avoid you or, shame you, whatever it is we want to do. I think like that's, and I've always said that, and now I see how the world is and the people that
we don't have to apologize for being white anymore.
Yeah,
Josh,
get into positions of leadership about that stuff. And the movie's not even really about that. Like, it's kind of like a B plot to the whole thing going on. But I think it's an interesting thing to just plug into a movie like this, because especially as it's aged over time, it's a pretty interesting thing to.
Can we talk about that art class some more? Because every time I come back to that class, I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And I hate that
the hanger lamp.
She clearly loves to draw, and she's making these like doodles, and they look good to me, and she's got this whole notebook, and the teacher makes fun of her.
Yeah.
Like, that's not serious enough art. And meanwhile, her classmate puts a tampon in a teacup, and it's like this feminist masterpiece. I'm like,
it was Allison. Don't you dare say it wasn't.
I think that's the whole point of that art class, though, is to play on like how stupid art interpretation is.
So when she brings in the racist caricature, which is not something she drew herself, she just brings it and props it up, but the teacher
found
asks her to explain it, and
she just
says,
makes up.
Did you do this? And she's like, no, but I thought it was important to put this out in the open. Her teacher's like, you are brilliant. I'm like, oh my God.
Right. Yeah. The teacher is ridiculously dumb.
Oh Lord.
The man,
We haven't even talked about the guy with the nunchucks.
Yo, is that Sean William Scott again? Because it looks like him.
It's not. What was his name? His name Roger or something? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
He does. He tries to
He
kill
just pops
Seymour
in
in
for
the
two
damn-
scenes.
Seymour comes in and tries to destroy the gas station, and the guy just chokes him out.
Did y'all watch the post credits? And the post credits is another scene with that. Like, it's like, I guess, an alternate take or whatever. They do where Steve Buscemi kicks his ass.
I read about that. I meant to go back and watch it and forgot.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's better the way it plays out in the movie, but it's pretty funny. But the first time I watched the credits, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty funny that they put that in there." Our guy from Mulholland Drive, Patrick Fischler, is also like his sneaky MVP candidacy he's building here with he's the guy that is talking about his bad dreams and goes and sees the hobo in Mulholland Drive in the diner. That's the only scene.
I noticed
the clerk,
him immediately.
The video clerk in this movie, who's like, who can't tell the difference between 9.5 weeks and 8.5.
8.5 weeks and 9.5. 8.5 and 9.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Did you also recognize Bob Ballahan, aka the movie producer from Gosford Park, as her father?
I did not clock that, but you're right. That is him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And David Cross from Scary Movie.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he was in it too. He's hitting on Rebecca.
He's the actual creep. Like, because I think like Seymour is.
Creep.
You could see Seymour and say, that's creepy that they're together, but at least like it's a consensual, like kind of like blossoming. Whereas David Cross is like clearly like, I'm gonna go try to pick up a teenager.
Yeah.
Which kind of it fits his character. I like David Cross, but he seemed like a kind of guy that would do that. But at least at that time. Don't sue me, David Cross.
Do you want to hit on the ending now?
Yeah, we can. Unless there's anything else you guys want to try to. Just the other thing I want to call out. You kind of mentioned it, Allison, but like there's so much background stuff too that makes the backgrounds pop out so much. They really do a good job of making this feel like a comic book in ways that I don't think get leaving a lot of comic book, quote unquote, comic book movies and would. And that's not a big point. Like the fact that this was adapted from a comic book isn't really. It almost isn't relevant to the. Well, I don't know, because like the art stuff, some of that stuff, like the reasons some of the story is the way it is, I think, are because it comes from comic creator. But the visual of it is like they nailed it. Like they really hit it out of the park. I meant to look up the cinematographer, Alfonso Beato, Beato, seeing. Just running through a list of other things he's worked on. I'm not sure I've even watched any of it, but man, like really nailed it, because that really takes like you really have to have a good sense of lighting to do some of the stuff that they knocked out here. Yeah, so the ending, with Enid and Rebecca, they kind of I don't know, would you say they kind of come to an understanding at the end, like their last scene together? They're sort of talking to each other and saying like, we'll need to stay in touch or whatever, but they kind of break up in a way. That's how it feels.
Yeah, I took it as like, I'm still your friend, I wish you the best, but like I'm going in a different direction, and like hopefully one day we can kind of meet again and talk about like how we've grown or something. It's kind of how it feels like, right? Like what you want out of life is clearly not what I want out of life, but that doesn't mean that like we have to hate each other. Like I wish you the best. You go on your journey and I'll go on mine, and hopefully we'll meet up again. That's kind of what it feels like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's sad though, man. You
yeah,
know?
It is sad. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting. Because it's sad because it's like an open acknowledgement of something that happens to a lot of people when they leave high school, but that doesn't happen. Like,
but we don't have that conversation. Yeah, like
there's just like a drifting, rather than there being like an actual discussion of what is happening. Yeah, it just kind of happens, and you don't generally talk about it.
And it's you accept it for what it is, or you don't accept it. It just kind of happens. Yeah, it's an interesting way to put it on screen. And then, yeah, in between that, Seymour is fired and living with his mom, and it's, like he's a loser still.
Even his therapist, clearly, I was like, oh man, find another therapist, because she's clearly like not going to help you that much. She's rolling her eyes as she's pushing him out the door.
Disinterested in his peril.
Okay, guys, there was one other thing that I meant to mention and I forgot, and it just struck me again. What do we think happened with Dana after Seymour? Because I honestly think she started dating the dude she's working with. Because I caught weird vibes.
The way he grabbed her shoulders
yes.
and looked intently, and it was
yes. I was like,
You're
are they
amazing.
like is she I was waiting on Seymour to find out that she was like sleeping around with him. You know what I mean? Like
Maybe.
I kept thinking that was going to happen.
Go write the fan fiction.
That one scene was just intense between them.
You could write that fanfic and then reconstruct it you can sell it as Ghost World fanfic, and it can become adapted into something that is completely not Ghost World, but definitely Ghost World.
Facts.
Right. We can really get meta
and make you a millionaire.
Yeah, then we can make money from the podcast.
Yeah.
I got it, guys. Let me get right on it.
And then Enid gets on a bus. That is the bus that took Norman around. It had been out of service for a while.
Yeah, Norman, the old man that they check on, that is always sitting at the bus stop, and she says, "You're the only person I can count on, because you're always sitting here at this out of service bus stop."
And he tells her, "Well, I'm gonna be leaving town." What do you guys interpret the bus or the bus stop as?
Well,
like, is he dead? You know what I mean? Is he a ghost?
That's what everybody
yes, there's a lot of people who say
say
suicide, which I don't immediately go to. I understand that interpretation, but I don't.
I understand that interpretation too, but that's not what and then people were saying, "Oh, well, he's going to the afterlife, and clearly she killed herself because she gets on the bus and leaves too, and like he's the only one on the bus when he gets on. She's the only one on the bus that gets on."
See, I do think for him it probably was like death, like a metaphor. Like, yeah, okay, like Norman's old, he's probably going to die. Like that's kind of how I interpret him.
But the director has said in interviews
I was going to say
that he did not intend for people to think that she had like died by suicide.
Do you think that had the movie not been called Ghost World, they would have even taken that interpretation? Because I caught the vibe too, and I was like, I didn't even get on Reddit. It was honestly how I first interpreted it, but I was like, I don't know.
The first time I watched it, that's where my mind went right after the first time I saw it, but then right away I was like, man, I don't know, and I think it's a fair interpretation. I don't think it's like you can say like that's a wrong way to interpret it at all. But I watched the second time I watched it, I felt more like I still think with Norman, it's like, yeah, it's a death metaphor. It's hard to really see old man getting on a bus.
It's a change metaphor, a transition metaphor, and if you want to believe that he's transitioning to the afterlife, sure. But I think she's transitioning to.
Yeah, I think for her it's a different transition than it is for him. I think the bus can be multiple things.
I took it as her saying, "I can't be here anymore. I need a fresh start."
Well, that's where I think Ghost
wherever
World
this bus takes me is where I'm going.
That's where Ghost World. That's where I feel like it kind of is talking about the past, like the high school, this town. That's the Ghost World. That's how I sort of interpret it. It's kind of corny, hokey, like whatever. I don't know. It might be kind of a simple way to interpret it. But like it's like you're just talking about like your past is the ghost, the world that you used to live in, like and you used to inhabit, and you can't go back to it. It's gonna because even if she comes back and is changed and wants to be there, it's still gonna be different when she comes back. There will be different things. So, Seymour will probably still be on his mom's couch, but other than that, like there's gonna be a lot of things going on that are the same or different than the world she left behind, and so. That's how I interpret it. Is more, it's like more like she's going off to figure herself out still. But yeah, I think it's interesting to interpret it as a suicide too because it means different things obviously for different people. So and I think it's a valid way. I can't sit here and say that's a wrong way for anybody to read it.
I don't like to think of it that way because that's such a downer.
It's sad, yeah.
The movie's
And-
sad though.
I mean,
Like,
it's sad, but at the same time, it's more sad to me to think that like these are things that happen to a lot of people. Everything that she goes through, it's not like it's this horrible trauma that people rarely deal with. I feel like what she's dealing with is a really, really common
This is stuff
thing.
like this or variations of it are things that happen to everybody.
And you might feel like you're the only one, but I mean, we were all awkward teenagers, and I think most of us felt like her to some extent, at least at some point. And to think that she would have taken her own life for feeling like that to me is the saddest thing, and I don't want to think of it that way.
I feel like some people that I
There are people
know
that
that
do, yeah.
committed suicide would have felt that way. You know what I mean? Like in those, like if you were to tell me, like if this movie just ended with her actually committing suicide, like without it being a metaphor or however you interpret it, like I would have been like, man, like it hit home with some other friends of mine from high school, you know? So
yeah, I mean, because that is, I mean, that frustration or not understanding or not knowing what you're getting ready to become can lead to that. Like, can make people feel, you know, that uncertainty can definitely lead to that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't watch the movie and think of Enid as somebody who is like she feels, even though she's frustrated and concerned about like what's happening in her life, she feels optimistic oddly to me. Like there's a kernel of optimism kind of in all of how she feels, at least when I watch her. And that could just be me putting that into her. But like the way it starts, like the way she's like dancing and she's like really excited about this like Bollywood thing that she's into at the beginning of the movie. Just her energy, I think, and it's like, you know, Thora Birch is bringing that to the performance. But I don't know, she feels like a positive energy, even though like she's very negative. Like she's negative to people throughout the movie, so it's weird to say she's like a positive energy, but she feels like a negative, optimistic person.
well, I just kept waiting on something positive to happen for her in the sense that, like, okay, maybe she's gonna end up with the ice cream dude that she loves to torment, even though
that poor guy.
You know, even though Rebecca, I guess, has a crush on him too. Or okay, maybe she's gonna end up with Seymour, which is a weird choice, and I don't know if we should do that, but. Like, you know, like, and all these different things you keep thinking, and then it's like, oh, she's going to get into art school. Like, this is finally her thing.
Oh,
and
yeah, that was bad.
That doesn't happen either. And it's like, damn, like, what is there for her? But it felt so real because, like, every other Hollywood movie, she ends up in art school, she does her own thing, and goes on and finds herself. And you don't, like, at the end of the movie, you're like, are these people okay? What happened to them 10 years from now? Like, where are they now?
We also haven't mentioned that we don't know who the dad's girlfriend is or was. It's kind of insinuated that he used to be together with this one. I can't remember her name.
It might have been a stepmom at some point.
May have been a stepmom at some point.
In the book, I think she's like the third wife or something. It says in the book. So
I would venture to say Enid is the reason why they weren't together anymore, and then they like kind of come back together.
But Enid says something to the effect of, "Oh my God, if my dad gets back with her, I'm going to kill myself." So I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean And
then
I think
she does show up there kind of close to the end. They're going to move in together. And she says the weirdest line to Enid. She's like, I like to think I played a part in helping you grow. It was so weird and creepy.
Yeah.
Played a part in helping you grow up.
That relationship in the with the dad in the book and in the movie is pretty similar. It's like pretty much the same relationship. The dad actually plays a bigger role in the art stuff in the book, which I like how they changed it. I think it actually... The movie works better with the dad kind of being more distant than in the book.
It's clear he doesn't know what to do with this like insane teenage girl energy.
I also like one thing that's changed.
Nobody would.
One thing that's changed, at least I didn't get the impression, and if I'm wrong, correct me. In the movie, they just go to a regular high school, right? Like it just looks like a regular high school, like a public high school that we would have.
Yeah,
That,
that's what it looked like
I
to me.
love that they're all like, "Oh my god, guys, can you believe we survived? We've made it." And she's like, "Oh yeah, we survived graduation."
Yeah, that opening scene is fun. Like with the party too, like their prom or post graduation party, whatever. There's some funny stuff there.
The
like
girl in the
she-
wheelchair, like never drinking again, and then
she's chugging.
just fucking down in it.
Yeah.
Somebody picked up a pineapple at some point in that scene, and I thought that was pretty funny. Like for just weird reasons, like swinger reasons. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if that was intentional. I just thought it was might have been. But in the book they're like prep school kids too, which I think adds another layer of like they're rich girls in the book, whereas in the movie they're more like I think normal non-prep private school kids, which I think is a good choice. Actually, I think it adds more universality to it. Yeah, good movie. I really enjoy this movie, and actually I watched it a couple more times since leading up to this, and it's good. Like it's really strong. I highly recommend purchasing the Criterion edition if you're someone who likes physical media. There's a really hefty booklet that the essay is available online. I've linked to it in the show notes, but it's just so well designed in the packaging that it's really cool having it as a physical copy beyond having the movie. Obviously, it's really nicely put together. There's a lot of art from the movie in the book, so highly encourage you to pick up that if that's something you're into. Anything else y'all want to say before we move on?
No, my only other comment, going back to Thora Birch being just a goddamn star in this movie, is it's so interesting. I talked about when she's all made up and she looks sort of mature and captivating, but then there's instances where she looks like an absolute child.
Yeah.
When she's crying in bed, I'm like, she looks like 6 years younger without the makeup and everything. It's just that interesting dichotomy of how she dresses up to present herself to the world, but she's still not totally grown up.
We're all just kids. That's kind of the
Yeah. No, the last thing I'll say about this movie is, I think that this movie would have had a bigger impact on me if I had been at the age that they are watching it, or even a couple years before that, because like you don't know what's gonna happen when you leave high school and you go to college and everything, and everybody has this weird awkward phase where you're unsure of yourself, you're unsure of life and everything that's getting thrown at you, and everybody feels like they're dealing with it alone, and in a sense you are, because your life and your story is different than Josh's or Allison's or mine, right? But we all have our own little phases that we all went through where we were completely like felt alone and unsure of everything, and this movie I think does a good job of encapsulating that to say like you're not alone, like other people deal with this shit too. Like this movie is so not Hollywood. It could be a documentary. It is legitimately one of the realest like just life movies I've ever seen, as far as like the characters feel real, because there's no Hollywood ending that's happy. There's no like extravagant things that happen that are like by chance, or that feel like, oh, of course, like that we got to have a happily ever after. It's literally like you could name the movie Life and people would just, that's what it would be. So I think like if you've ever had that thought or feel those thoughts about like going through those phases, or if you have kids that are going to start going through those phases and stuff when they get older, like my daughter's 8. She's not ready for this movie, but by the time she's like 14, 15, or 16, I will make sure that she watches this movie, because like I think it gives some good parenting talking points with some of these characters as well, but also lets her see and know that like you're gonna hit these phases, and like just know that like you can talk to me, you can talk to your mom, and also like know that you're not going through them alone. Like we've all gone through them, even though it feels like you're alone, you're not.
All right, special feature time. And so we don't have any superhero movie this year. That's something we talked about a little bit in the draft and then some other shows that we've talked about. 2001 is unique in this century for that reason. It is the only year to date without a superhero movie or a movie adapted from a superhero comic. I guess I should stress, because there's things you can say are superhero movies, but that are in this year, but not adapted from a comic book. And this is a comic book adaptation, though, obviously. So that's where we're going to talk about Hollywood and comic books today, guys. So we found a way to do it.
Yeah.
We found a way to do it. The year is sandwiched, although, between two of the most significant, in my opinion, comic book movies released ever. X-Men, released in 2000, stars our favorite hacker, Hugh Jackman. Hacker and Jacker, if we want to say.
And Storm.
Storm.
And oh yeah, see, I don't know why.
Storm got her titties out this year.
I always forget that Halle Berry is in that X-Men movie. I don't know why I always forget that she's in that movie.
Are you just transfixed by her accent in that first movie that you forget it's actually her?
It's actually a whole different actress. It's crazy.
This is so great.
And my favorite between those two, the one I prefer, Spider-Man, released in 2002, released or directed by the master Sam Raimi. I rewatched that a couple nights ago. I was telling y'all before the show that we were having a long night, or actually it was a couple of days when we had to bump this recording because we had a weird night with my son. He did not want to go to sleep, and he went to bed at like 1:30 in the morning. And so I'm just on standby a lot of times, but so I was just trying to watch movies staying up, and I watched Spider-Man. I just decided to watch Spider-Man because I knew we were going to talk about this. And I was like, I want to rewatch it, and oh my god, it's so fucking good. It is so and I've said for a long time that Spider-Man 2 is my favorite, mostly just from working from memory, and I bet I would have the same feelings about it if I rewatched it. But my god, the first one is so fucking good. It's such a good movie, and it really, we'll get into it later, but I really want to have some thoughts about that kind of pertain to all this discussion we're about to have. Both of those movies received sequels not long afterwards. And by 2003, literally 2 years from the year we're talking about, there were 3 feature films built around Marvel characters, Daredevil, X2, and Hulk, in theaters that same year. So we went from 2001 not having any to just a single company having 3.
We had Blade a few years before that, which was a Marvel movie.
And I didn't go back. I didn't go back before 2000, but yeah, there was Blade, Batman Returns. The fucking Batman had 4 movies in the 90s.
Hell, if it wasn't for Blade, Marvel would not have existed.
Blade was.
At this point, they would have gone bankrupt and just tapered off into eternity.
Yeah, Blade was the one that sort of set the trail. We'll get into that. I've got the bankruptcy.
Sorry, Josh.
I've got it. We're good. Read the notes.
I like to just flow with it, man. I highlight them.
We do have 2 other movies, at least that I'm for sure aware of, adapted from comics this year. From Hell, which we're going to talk about later in the year with Slate drafted that one. I'm excited.
Super excited. I had no idea it had anything to do with comic books.
Yeah, we had that. I had that discussion because we were. I was willing to give this bonus feature to Slate because we try behind the scenes. People, we talk about a little bit the bonus features to make sure we don't overlap with other ideas people might have with their movies and stuff, because there are a lot of things where you can talk about the same sort of things. And so I wanted to, and then Slate was like, it's adapted from a comic book, and so,
news to me, bro. I thought it was like an autobiography or something that
and then the other one, which was kind of news to me, was Josie and the Pussycats. I was aware of the TV show, and I thought, that's largely probably what it takes a lot of inspiration from. But it's actually originated from Archie Comics, which I don't, for some reason, didn't know, or at least I didn't remember. So, and I've talked about with my buddy Derek from the Glitter Drop Podcast Collective doing an episode on Josie and the Pussycats, and that's how you guys are learning about that. So if you would like to join in that episode, either one of you, we'll make sure you can do that.
I watched that movie for the first time within the past 3 years, and it was so ahead of its time. It's so much better than it was not at all what I thought it was.
I have
be
also
when it
not
came out.
watched it. You already say you haven't seen it, Slate? I've not
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I mean, I'm here to do it if we want to
So,
do it.
Derek-
Same thing with Sugar and Spice. I want to watch Sugar and Spice.
Yeah,
and
we'll
watch it.
we'll do that one.
that.
My sister, at the time of recording, another behind the scenes thing. My sister went through and liked like every Instagram post that we've posted.
She went ham today, bro. I was like, "Who is this chick?" She's like,
I
going
opened
after all
IG
of
and
them.
had like 50 notifications. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, did that reel blow up? Nope.
Yeah, support.
So she might have her on for that one if we get around to doing it. That's a fun one. That is a fun one. Yeah, Derek though, I haven't seen Josie and the Pussycats yet, but he did. He made like a 20-minute YouTube essay about that back when he had a little YouTube channel going. That's really interesting. I'm sure we'll talk about when we have that on with him. He's a fan. He's a fan of the movie. So I'm excited to do that in the future. But that's not today. That's in the future. Feature films adapted from comic stories aren't obviously a 21st century invention. We've been doing them for a while, as Slate kind of pointed out with Blade and whatnot. Did you guys know that the first one technically came out in... Jesus, did I not write the year? What the...
God, check the notes, Josh.
Yeah, Josh, check the notes.
I did not write the year down.
1916? No,
It was like 1896, I think. I'm more operating from memory, so this might be screwed up. It was 1896 or 1897. It was a silent film, obviously, adapted from the Cats and Jammer Kids, which is a comic strip that ran for like well over 100 years, and I'd never heard of till I was doing research for this episode. It has a very, very interesting history in terms of like ownership, and kind of at some point it splinters off where the original writer takes and starts doing another series that ran for 60 years, and they kind of both use the name. It's wild. Comics used to be really crazy. It was produced by a company called American Mutoscope and Biograph. It was, according to Wikipedia, which I'm taking as gospel for this, the first company in the United States devoted entirely to film production and exhibition. It was founded in 1895. Yeah, it was 1896 or 97 because it was a couple years after they were founded. I remember that. And then went defunct a few years later in 1916. I've got a long note here if you're interested in D.W. Griffith. Anybody out there, if you like old racists, I encourage you to read this note.
He's the founder of Coon's Chicken.
Okay.
Cut out that clip. If you like old racists, have I got something for you?
Shit.
The main thing though, like he's like the main reason this company probably has any notoriety or fame. Like it would be known would be him. He originated there. He's a Kentuckian from Oldham County. Who was an actor writer but became like their principal director, and he's the guy he's credited with kind of, he didn't invent the techniques, but he's credited with like the guy that kind of popularized what movies kind of are, like kind of how they come together, a lot of techniques and things. So we don't want to get into him too much. Like I get it, he fucking sucks. But just wanted to call that out, and because that would be why you might have heard of that company, would be its association with him. The first recorded adaptation of a comic superhero is another weird thing. It's called The Adventures of Captain Marvel, a 12-chapter silent serial. Serials were these things, for listeners that might not know, that they played like week to week, and they were shorter, like more like TV episodes basically, but they're kind of considered movies. It's like when we say movies now, we think of one thing, and when they said movies back then, it was another thing. So that's how we kind of talk about it now. So technically, I guess you could say this is the first superhero comic book movie is based off a character that we now call Shazam, because nothing can be easy. Like I said, comics are weird. That character has changed hands a couple times, and used to be called Captain Marvel. Now there's a female superhero called Captain Marvel that has nothing to do with this Captain Marvel, and the one that's called Captain Marvel is called Shazam now, and fucking just deal with it. We're just gonna keep going. Batman 1943, Superman 1948, both also debuted in film serials. The first feature-length superhero comic book movie is called Superman and the Mole Men. Have you guys seen it? I've not watched it. I've heard of it, but I've never watched it. It came out in 1951 and starred George Reeves, who is the father of the guy who would become the more well-known Superman, probably the most well-known Superman, Christopher Reeves, who made his debut in 1978, which was the next Superman movie after the moment. So it took 27 years before that character got realized on screen again in live action. In between that, they did a movie adaptation of the TV show that Adam West starred in around Batman. So that was Batman's theatrical feature film debut. I love the Batman, the old show. I've never watched the movie actually, but I do enjoy that show, and so I'll get around to watching that at some point. Very different thing, obviously, than what we're used to now. Marvel did a 15-chapter serial about Captain America right around the time of World War II, right before we kind of got, or right as that was kind of winding down, rather. Their next trip to the big screen was in Japan. The Toei Spider-Man series had a film serial that got premiered there. So our first real feature-length Marvel movie, you didn't look at the notes, Slate. Do you know what it is?
First feature-length Marvel movie, I'm assuming would have been like I'm assuming it would have been Captain America, but if not, then it would have been
you're not
Punisher.
Far. Those are both really close to this one. Howard the Duck.
Oh, Howard the Duck, dude! He gave my brother nightmares. The Howard the Duck movie gave my brother nightmares. I did actually know that.
Yeah.
Who didn't he give nightmares?
Howard the Duck.
Oh Lord.
Our friends at Lucasfilm were behind that one. So there's your bit piece of trivia. The first feature-length Marvel movie, Howard the Duck.
Those are also the cameras that Francis Ford Coppola gave Victor Salva to film with.
Oh, got to get the Predators. I guess we had one kind of already in this episode of the movie, but you know, oh man.
Sorry.
Ups and downs from there. Several DC movies, all the Batman movies, great stuff. Punisher, Captain America from Pune, who we've talked about previously. The Fantastic Four movie that never got released officially. I think it's out there. You can still collect bootlegs of it. That's been out in and out there. Those actors were in the new one, I think, as cameo characters. They made cameos, which is kind of cool.
Don't forget about the Nick Cage Superman movie that exists.
Oh yeah,
Superman lives.
Marvel files for bankruptcy in 1996, around the time of major comic book bubble burst. It merged with a toy company, Toy Biz. That's where, if anyone out there collects action figures or is aware of action figures at all, that's kind of where the Marvel Legends, the very long-running Marvel Legends action figure line spawned from, is that Toy Biz partnership. Really cool action figures if you're into that thing. And then as a part of that, their movie license rights start splintering across a lot of different companies. Universal ends up with a few. Sony ends up with a few. And Sony's the one that kind of matters the most because they end up with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's pretty popular, turns out. DC, on the other hand, has been owned, since 1972, has been owned by a version of the company that colloquially is called Warner Brothers. That company has been like 6 different companies as of recording, and will probably be a 7th one by the end of the year, if the Paramount merger goes through.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But who knows if that'll happen or not? But they've weirdly changed hands a lot, but not really. Like DC's kind of been mostly in the same boat for close to 60 years now. But it's weirdly Marvel that ends up becoming the big horse in the barn, because they end up just really knocking it out of the park with Iron Man sets off unintentionally. That's Disney gets their hands in the distribution of these movies, but doesn't actually own Marvel, purchase Marvel outright until, is it 09, 10? No, it's I don't have this in the notes, but I know the year. It's 20.
It's like 2014 or 2015, I thought.
Well, I
thought it was 2012, right around the time that they
buy
did Avengers.
Marvel in 2010, or they start to talk with Marvel about buying them in 2010. And the only reason I'm aware of this is because it relates to Power Rangers. They basically, Power Rangers, they wanted, what they were doing with Power Rangers was kind of like impeding on the Marvel stuff. So they end up selling Power Rangers because just to get it out of their face and so they can do the Marvel stuff. Partly, I mean, there's bigger reasons for that, but so they end up, Iron Man comes out, Captain America. I think Captain America, if I'm remembering right, Captain America or the second Captain America is like the last one that's not technically a Disney movie. It's like a Paramount movie or something, but like they're the distributor. From there, I think the Avengers is the first one that crosses $1 billion. It made 1.5 billion, not adjusted for inflation. And then 9 others end up crossing $1 billion over the course of the years, including 2 that made $2 billion, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. You might have heard of them. Several Spider-Man movies in that time, too, also are part of that. And those, the weird thing there is that is the only character that is still not owned. The movie rights aren't owned by Disney as of this recording, I'm pretty sure.
Who's that?
Spider-Man. Sony still owns the film rights to Spider-Man, but Marvel is involved in
and
Disney.
They're taking a decade to give us a Spider-Verse Part 3.
Oh, those are great. Those are really good. I like those a lot. DC tried to match Marvel's momentum, but didn't really have the means to do it creatively. Or like it's more like I don't know if it's like less the creatively because I think their characters. It's weird. I always kind of grew up more of a DC person, like in terms of like the characters I gravitated towards. But it's just like they didn't really have a single vision out of the gate, and then when they attempted to do that, it just was wonky and didn't really gel. I think with the marketplace's sensibilities overall.
It worked with Nolan and it worked when Nolan had the Batman franchise. Mm-hmm. When he finished it, and then they decided to do their own DC universe and all the stories connecting and everything else. That's where they screwed the pooch.
So you know how you may have kind of as creative people heard this that sometimes dealing with limitations actually feeds the creativity and you come up with something better. So DC has these immensely proven popular characters in Superman and Batman in particular, but Marvel, because it didn't have the X-Men at the time, which I would consider movie-wise their biggest thing. It didn't. Well, Spider-Man probably.
Yeah, those are the big two.
They didn't have either of them. Yeah,
didn't have either of them, and it's so smart for them to start their franchise with Iron Man, who was like a lesser-known B-tier character, and just knock the casting out of the park.
That's where we got it right.
That was
and
the
build
start.
everything from there. But they
if
were
Robert
coming
Downey Jr. is mid, we don't have it.
Yeah, it's and that was due to limitations. And I don't think if Marvel had Spider-Man that they would have been able to do this. I think that they made it work in this weird way because of the limitations and really built everything up from there. And that's why it works. And DC had all the resources and options in the world and somehow still fucked it up.
The crazy thing about DC is the DC animated movies are so much fucking better.
They are, yeah.
Like the animated DC movies based off the comic storylines are great. And the DC stuff that works in its own vacuum, like for instance, Robert Pattinson's The Batman, which is not tied to a DC universe, is fantastic. It may be the best Batman film aside from the original Batman and The Dark Knight ever made. It's great, and I can't wait for part 2.
I've not watched that movie since the time I watched it in theaters, and I really should. I would like to go back and watch because I loved it. I really thought it. And what I'm about to say is even more why I should go back and rewatch it because I love The Dark Knight. I think everybody on this screen probably is a very big fan of that movie. It was the first comic book movie, again, I'm not accounting for inflation, to gross $1 billion worldwide, which is worth acknowledging because it is, and I've said on this podcast before, it's like probably the last time a really comic book story was actually like a superb movie also. And I'm saying that kind of tongue in cheek because I think there's been lots of good ones since. But to me, that is the pinnacle of, and it's not even like The Dark Knight Rises is not as strong in this sense. It is the pinnacle of, this is clearly is a comic book movie. Like, this is a weird thing going on. Like, you've taken a comic book from the page and put it into a movie strip, but it also just feels like if you never watched anything Batman and you just watched The Dark Knight, it feels like it just stands alone on its own as a really excellent movie in a way that very few of these movies do. And I just think that the fact that it wasn't like, I don't think it was nominated for Best Picture. Like,
no, but it did get like
what they-
cinematography
it got
They expanded the field
actor.
from 5 to 10
and it because
the year
of it.
after
Yeah,
this.
it would have been nominated, and I don't remember the year like everything else that year. And I'm not saying it should have won, but like it should have been nominated. Like it really should have been nominated. In fact, I think Joker gets nominated later is a fucking crime. Like, because like I don't love that movie, but I can understand. I can understand why it got nominated because it's basically Taxi Driver with the Joker. But man, like it's just so like that movie should have been the one. Like, and it's interesting, like thinking about that year too, because '08 is that movie and Iron Man in theaters at the same time. Like, which is wild because also I think Iron Man to me is also like I would still say one of my 3 to 5 favorite MCU movies, and maybe my favorite depending on like you kind of just the mood I'm in or when you ask me. And it is so much the Downey of it is right, you guys. Like this whole thing doesn't exist with Marvel if Downey doesn't work because he, I think they nailed it with Chris Evans too, with Steve Rogers. I think that is his name, right? Chris Evans. I didn't just fuck that up, right? Because there's another one, Chris Hemsworth. Like they nailed the casting on all those guys, but Downey's the one like really anchors the whole thing. And I mean, now we're seeing it now where they want to claw him back in as
they can't let him go.
Character.
Yeah.
Desperation.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. I kind of just wanted to get us to that point where we're talking about, what are our favorite comic book adaptations? And they don't have to be superheroes. We can talk about other ones too, but like I think most people's minds go to superheroes naturally. And
I mean, Men in Black is a good non-superhero adaptation. The original Men in Black.
I like Men in Black.
Going to another casting perfection, I would be absolutely remiss and losing my mind if I did not say that John Bernthal as Frank Castle is fucking phenomenal.
I would agree with that.
So glad he's finally getting a big screen film debut as the Punisher. I'm more excited for his one shot when that comes out in May. The entire Daredevil cast, like that they did on Netflix with Charlie Cox, and now they've, and Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin and Deborah Ann Woll, and like that cast is fantastic, and those shows are great. Like they did some really good stuff with those as well.
You having Punisher in the next Spider-Man movie was me having Charlie Cox in the last Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Daredevil. Was like the. I grew up with Batman. Like The Long Halloween is like one of my favorite comic.
The Long Halloween is probably my favorite story of all Batman stories.
Outside of that, like Daredevil Born Again is like maybe my favorite superhero comic book story, and like there's still a lot of good Daredevil stuff, and like that, especially that first season of the Netflix show is so. I've not even watched like since they restarted it, but like I did watch all the 3 Netflix seasons, and that first season especially is like so like just that like as bad as the movie Daredevil with Ben Affleck was is how good that first season of the Daredevil TV show was.
See, I think season 2 is better, but I'm partial, right? So
and that's great too. Like it's like for me it's like more about like it's just Daredevil. Like that's like a big part of it.
I will say this. I know I've already told you, and I think Allison agreed with me on it. You have got to check out Matt Reeves' The Penguin on HBO. I'm telling you.
We talked about that quite a bit ago.
Colin Farrell's, that not only him, but just that entire cast, the storytelling. It is like one of the best character arcs in any television series, one season I
It's
have
so
ever
good.
seen. It is fucking exquisite.
I'll get around to it. Say the same thing I said. No, I'm sure I would like it because like it is one of those shows that you hear people like outside of like even like comic book people talk about like being really good.
I'm telling you, man, the next time you have a night where the kid won't go to sleep and you're going to be up late, watch the first Batman, you know, the Matt Reeves, the Batman, and then dive into the Penguin. It's great, man. You'd love it. The only other thing that I got to say about comic book movies and stuff, of course, I love the Blade stuff. I think we got a little too meta with the Deadpool bringing back, you know, Blade and all that. I was actually really excited for Mahershala Ali to take a swing at it. I think he would have been great as Blade, and Mia Goth as like the main villain was going to be fucking epic. But I don't think we're ever going to get that movie.
It seems like that's in development hell.
So, which is fine. Speaking of development hell, I am extremely disappointed that the Last Ronin series movie, whatever, is not it's in development hell. I'm hoping that when the Last Ronin video game comes out, that we get some fuel to the fire for that, because I do love Seth Rogen's animated movie and series for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, whatever you want to call it. But I need an adult version of The Last Ronin to come to live action. I have got to have it.
I would say X2 I have such a soft spot for. I mean, the Fox X-Men movies are just wildly all over the place. There are some that I think are excellent, and there are some that are absolute dog shit. But X2, seeing it in the theater, and that whole opening sequence with Nightcrawler through the white, it was just like, oh my god, you're seeing on screen what, and my X-Men love comes from the cartoons and not from like comic books necessarily, but it was, you're feeling like they're really getting the characters pretty right, you know.
So Allison's political stance is we need to take Trump and JD Vance, and instead of turning them into mutants, we're going to turn them into gay black men. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just gonna let
Yeah,
that sit there.
I think that's what I said, wasn't it?
Yeah. You like the political stance the movie takes? No.
Yeah.
I did want to ask. I had kind of in my mind to ask you what your favorite X-Men movie was, because I know you're a big, you know, Allison's a huge X-Men fan if you're out there, and you know.
I think they got Days of Future Past.
That's
so
my favorite
right.
one.
I love Days of Future Past.
And I was shocked because I thought, going into it, I was like, oh my lord, how are they going to handle this? I was like, they did it. It's great.
I had an internship or something. I was writing for a website here in town called Digital Chumps that still exists. It's still out there. I don't know if my essay exists, but that was one of the few times I went to a movie, and I remember writing something. I wish I should have dug this up. I would like to read it again. I'm sure it's terrible. Kind of about how that was like going to be the future of like this whole genre, like is what Days of Future Past looked like and what it was about, and really kind of the insular nature, like the really comic bookiness of it. And I kind of was right. Like, I kind of like, I was really like, man, like after looking back, I was like, man, I was really smart. Like I was really like insightful.
Yeah.
Really going for it, you know, taking a swing there. Not like the biggest leap to go out, but like it was interesting it's interesting. I would like to revisit that and wonder how I would feel about it now, because it's hard for me to cut off some of the cynicism I have about this stuff now, because it's so weird. Like, because I like all this stuff. I really like superheroes. I really like the storytelling. I like the metaphor of like things like the X-Men and like with Spider-Man, like you know, it's like we're talking about a coming of age movie. Like, I love Spider-Man. Part of so much of him is just a coming of age story being told over and over, and it's awesome that the Miles Morales character is getting that, you know, space to do that now, and in it for a different kind of story, and it's all fun. Like, I love Power Rangers. Like, that's not a comic book, but it's a, you know, it has certainly lots of roots in that kind of storytelling. And now I don't know if I just got so overwhelmed with all of it, and like felt like it was like something I had, like, for me, I guess I lost the shine of like, oh, this is something to be excited about, and more like this is like homework, or this is like, oh, maybe I became more cognitively aware of like, oh, they're just really, really trying to milk the fact that I like this stuff now. And once you become aware of that, it's, at least for me, really hard to accept like, okay, but I'm still going to eat it. You know, like
see, I stopped
I'm
eating
still
it.
gonna
though.
eat this bowl.
I'm the same way, Slade. I've kind of like
I
have stepped away from. I watched the Thunderbolts last year. Me and you went and watched that. And I
Thunderbolts
liked it.
was fun.
Yeah, I like Thunderbolts.
But like I can't keep up with all of it. Like, and there's so much stuff now that comes out that I'm like, I have no desire to watch this, and I don't care if it ties into Phase 75.2. Like I don't care. And we had it so good, and we didn't know how good we had it. When Marvel was like at its peak, you know, and you have some absolute bangers in there with like Winter Soldier, and even Civil War was fun. You know, the Black Panther movies.
It's weird that all the Captain America movies are maybe like collectively the best, like in terms of like
the best.
I mean, the Iron Man movies are great too. Thor was a clusterfuck of good and shit.
Thor is kind of like the one I think that is really good to use though as like the frame of reference for what you just said. Like it kind of captures the whole experience of what Marvel.
How good and how bad it can be.
The highs and the lows.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I think we all can agree that after Infinity War and Endgame, we should have been done for a long enough time for us to miss and come up with more creative things. But then after that, we have COVID, and we've got WandaVision, and right on top of that, we've got Loki, and right on top of that, we've got some other Shang-Chi, and you know what I mean? Like all and then we've got Multiverse of Madness, and like all these things that are like some of them were really good, some of them are missing their mark, and some of them are like, what the shit was that?
And they're good, but they don't go anywhere. Like Shang-Chi, there should have been a Shang-Chi sequel in the time that we.
I like Shang-Chi,
and yeah, I did too. And like, and
it's clear they had a plan, and then the fans were telling them this is not what we want, and then they like tried to pivot 7 different ways and find their way through it. And then eventually, desperation sits in and, let's make Robert Downey Jr. Doctor Doom!
You just steered me where I was wanting to kind of go with what I was saying, which is, like, so much of this has become about reacting to what the fans, like, want instead of creating, like, a movie and trying to have a... There's a place for reacting to fan stuff. I don't think it's invalid to want to do that. But given the choice between we really need to answer to fans and like, oh God, we need to get Robert Downey Jr. back so we can have reason for these people to come back and please love us again. We brought Robert Downey Jr. back. Or we're going to really tell a really strong story and try to go swing for the fences and do something cool. I'm always going to side with the other thing. And not to say
what we
that
really
Robert
want
Downey
is an
Jr.
original
probably
cool
awesome,
movie.
But like, it's just so hard to get past that layer of like, oh, you're just trying to feed me the member berries, you know, like.
Yeah, what we really want is a great comic storyline done accurately, creatively, with the right cast, and something new, innovative, and surprising.
And that's what you mentioned WandaVision, which honestly I loved up until like literally the very last battle. I'm like, of course we have to shoot lasers at each other, but because Wanda Maximoff's story is so convoluted, and I loved how they interpreted it and brought in the twins and everything. And then Multiverse of Madness kind of undoes a lot of her character development, and she just becomes angry witch mom. Yeah. Which I know Sam Raimi was like, oh boy, I get to be weird and gross and but it was like, this is a different character than the one I just watched and fell in love with in this show. And he admitted that he had like never seen the show.
And that's the
that's a fucking problem too. And that's a fucking problem.
And it doesn't, and I don't even think that reflects poorly on Raimi, and I'll defend him. But like, if that's how you're creating this stuff and you're okay with that as an organization, okay, but like you have to be willing to accept like this movie is completely just not in conversation with a show that you spent is probably just as much money making. Like it's just a weird and it just kind of almost defeats the point of like, why did you do that TV show? I'm with you, Al. And it was like, I liked Multiverse of Madness, and even thought like, why did they do this? Like, why they?
It was somehow like very Sam Raimi and also not Sam Raimi enough. But I'm like, I get why they hired him to do it, because Scott Derrickson directed the first Doctor Strange, and he's a horror guy. But it was. Yeah, it's like I don't hate the movie if I kind of separate it on its own, but I was so annoyed at what they did with her character.
Yeah, no,
I was
crazy.
I was so excited for all the possibilities and capabilities and more things that to come, especially with Sam Raimi, but just the whole concept of the multiverse of madness in general.
Wow.
And it missed its mark completely for me. I was like, it's enjoyable, but it was such a letdown of like all the other things that I thought that we could get. Like I am holding out. Oh my God. If the stars ever align where we get John Bernthal's Punisher in the War Machine outfit with the Punisher skull painted on it, that is my favorite fucking character comic storyline ever, and I have got to see it eventually.
Slate's
It will come to light.
Do a whole 180 on all the
Make
stuff.
Matthew Rosenberg's dream come true. He wrote that storyline, and it deserves to have its day. But going into the movies, though, man, like I think that we got too much of them after we just had the emotional roller coaster of, Infinity War and Endgame. And I think that, sometimes you need to take a step back and reset. And like, they were like, all right, well, we're moving to the next phase, and this is good. And like, people were like, hold up, damn, like, let me grieve the dead Tony Stark for 3-5 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, chill.
Well, it is interesting to think, because I think they could have still, you still could have tried to establish Shang-Chi as a character to care about. But instead, rush it
to release a Black Widow movie after she's dead.
Yeah, I mean, that was
that sucked, because I love weird. I did like the Black Widow movie.
It was a good movie.
They did a good job of setting up Florence Pugh, but like, man, come on,
But
bro.
I was like, why didn't this come out 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's such a strange. It's such a strange way they've approached everything, and that's got less to even do with the movies and more just like the entire creative like apparatus around Marvel and kind of what it became, and because there's an even bigger conversation that I don't want us to have necessarily about like just how movies should be made and like because like the way they were made, like when we were back in the Spider-Man and X-Men early days, in the early 2000s, where it is like the creative, like everybody's just out doing their own thing, got their own vision. Nothing is really meant to gel with each other. And now, because everybody's on the nostalgia train, like everything is getting made in a way to try to bring everything together. We had the Spider-Man all come together in No Way Home, and we've got the X-Men.
I did love that though.
And that's
I loved No Way Home.
I did love that. Like, even though like the movie is really like it really is kind of just like remember this. Like, oh, there's Dr. Octopus, and again, it's cool. It is cool, and it's fan service, and like I like that, and I think that's okay. I think it's okay for a movie to be that, but I also think like it's like, man, like I kind of almost part of me is like it would maybe it would just been better just to forget all this stuff and because they're going to come back probably for the next.
But what No Way Home did that was important is it righted the wrongs for Andrew Garfield.
That was the best. That I did enjoy that they gave because he was a good. He was the best Peter Parker.
Yeah, man,
yes,
and he got shit on.
Thing.
His villains sucked, and the movies weren't great. But I loved him, and I loved his passion for it.
I love Emma Stone.
Him saving Zendaya's character and like that moment
was awesome.
Legitimately brought tears to my eyes because it was just a beautiful moment, and it felt like, listen, fans, we realize we fucked up and let you down. We realize we let Andrew down. We have to make this right. And it just was nice to feel that.
And that's using this stuff for it is fan service, but it's like using it in a way that still like adds to a story, even though that story is like allegedly movies that people didn't love. I don't remember liking those.
I liked them. I liked them. I didn't love them. Like, I thought he was great, but his villains were bad.
And that Sony didn't love, but we're still going to try to leverage that into, and that's the thing. And we encounter it with the show we're doing here. Like, we're talking about a lot of movies sometimes that people didn't like. Ghost World, I mean, people like Ghost World. I didn't even mention this. It had like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, critic score, 84% or 85%, something like that, and audience. But movies that were underseen, or maybe
Absolutely.
are being reevaluated. I mean, I think we've talked about Jeepers Creepers, like a movie. I think that's a movie that kind of people kind of go back and forth on, that I think ages better with time in some ways. And other than the obvious way that it doesn't.
I was like, I don't know if you can say that.
So yeah,
as a movie, sure. As a movie,
yeah,
sure.
as a movie. So it's interesting. I think I'm eager to see how these next two Avengers movies kind of just play with people, because
I'm keeping my expectations very low.
Low, absolutely.
So that hopefully I'll go in and be impressed.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm avoiding all trailers.
I'm more excited about the new
everything, and
Spider-Man than I am the Avengers thing.
Yes, I am. John Bernthal, baby. John
But I also
Bernthal.
like Spider-Man. Like, I've liked every
I love
iteration of the
Spider-Man.
character that's been in movies. Like, I mean, like, I didn't love like the Andrew Garfield movies, but I liked him, and there were things I liked about those movies. And I was bring it kind of circle back to the start. That first Spider, oh my God, I just was watching and just can't believe how perfect it is. Like, it is, there's some like aged ways it's aged a little bit, but I don't know. I watch it and I also even kind of watch stuff. Like, really, the only thing I would even say is aged poorly is some of the CGI. But like, I watch it and I'm like, I don't know that this would look any better in a current.
No,
like some
great.
of the way that they've
Yeah.
done CGI lately, like I think it would look
great.
the same. So I love those. At least the first one. I mean, just revisiting it for the first time in forever. Like, man, like what a movie! Like, really, like legitimately good movie.
Well,
I'm
and that's
glad
what. Go ahead, Allison.
Well, I was going to go off on a tangent, but I'm glad that DC has allowed Matt Reeves to we were talking about, like, you can just tell a story and it doesn't have to connect with everything. And it seems like because the Batman was critically and commercially successful, that they're like, yeah, let's just let Matt Reeves, like, have his little Batman world over here and, like, the Penguin, but not have to tie in with any
James Gunn
anything
bullshit
any James Gunn stuff.
Oh,
Because those two things
will not ever work.
will not ever work together. Or I can't imagine a world in which they would work together.
You want Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves' Batman cracking James Gunn jokes? Like, oh God,
no.
I'm glad
God,
you
no.
brought that up, Allison, because I completely forgot a point that I was going to make about that movie earlier when I was talking about The Dark Knight. Is that I walked out of that movie thinking this might be the best Batman movie, and not that it's better than The Dark Knight, but that it just as a start to finish Batman movie, like what Batman is to me as a character, it might be the best movie, but I would still say The Dark Knight is a better movie. If that makes sense.
I know what you're
Like,
saying. I think the Batman is like the best way that I could understand how someone could become Batman.
Because to me, like The Dark Knight's almost like the Joker movie, really.
That's what I was gonna get at. Here's where I'm at with the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is literally the movie I have watched the most ever. It burnt the lasers out of my Blu-ray player in high school because I put it on every night before I went to sleep for almost 2 years straight. Like I would
until
fall
your
asleep.
mom broke it in half.
Yeah. Yeah. I did though. Like I watched that movie. I put it on to go to sleep every night, and it would loop through the menu, and then it would start the movie over again. So I would just wake up, and it would be on. And so like I fell in love with it. I don't think Christian Bale's remotely close to being a good Batman. I think his Batman is fucking shit.
He might be the
his
worst
Bruce Wayne.
one,
It's terrible. His Bruce Wayne is solid, but the Batman movies are only like the Christopher Nolan Batman movies are only fantastic because how well he does with the villains. The villains are fantastic.
Everyone.
And he swings big practically, like with the effects. Flipping that semi-truck over and actually doing it.
Maybe the best action scene
with IMAX cameras.
On the streets of Chicago.
The whole
with
century.
IMAX cameras. Yeah. All of that is like, that's what makes those movies great. And so, honestly, if you're talking about a better overall movie, storyline, telling-wise, villain-wise, Batman-wise, the Batman is better. But The Dark Knight is superior in the sense that nobody will ever touch what Heath Ledger did with the Joker. and all of the stuff that happens in that movie. That story is fantastic from that perspective, and of course, all of the big swings that Christopher Nolan took, he set the bar at a level that nobody else even thought a superhero movie could get to with that movie. So
and he had Maggie Gyllenhaal, Slate's favorite.
Droopy.
And one of the things I don't like a complaint I heard from people about the Batman. They were like, "Oh, he was barely Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne's supposed to be a playboy." And I'm like,
"That's the point."
I think that's where they're gonna go in the next movie. And Robert Pattinson, if y'all seen Tenet, like just his charm as Neo in Tenet, and I was like, Robert Pattinson is such a good actor. I'm so curious to see, because he will very obviously be playing. Batman is the real him, and Bruce Wayne is the mask, as they've said, and I think he's just gonna do such a great job with it. I'm excited.
He's an excellent actor, and we're lucky that he was interested in being Batman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that has kind of become the character. It's weird. Batman is our James Bond, basically. Really, if it's different, but it kind of is effectively our answer to James Bond, I think, in America.
Like a series that ongoing and different actors and just kind of all constantly remains.
So we're going to start a
popular
campaign for Idris Elba to be Batman too.
Maybe that should
I'd watch it.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan maybe someday. That'd be fun. It'd be interesting. So I'm sure that would not get anybody mad whatsoever.
I know. I'm sure there aren't any people who love old racists listening to this podcast who would.
Michael B. Jordan, you're a cretin.
Cretin.
Oh.
Oh my lord.
Well, we're done sleeping with Steve Buscemi, and we have regrets. Immediately. We hope y'all enjoyed this nostalgic trip. A very longer episode than I was expecting to be, but it's been a fun one. Show notes, links, everything's all in the description. Please follow us. Tell your friends to listen, subscribe. Tell them who your favorite sex pest from the recent run of episodes is. I'm sure that'll really get them interested.
Include the hashtag sex pest, please.
We've had some monsters on a few episodes, or we've talked about some monsters lately, so it was nice to kind of wash some of those out of the ecosystem in the last couple. Allison, so you've got the next one, and it's our second movie of yours to feature David Duchovny. If you want to tell us a little bit more about what we're talking about next week.
We're watching basically Ghostbusters with aliens. It's Evolution, starring David Duchovny, Orlando Jones, Julianne Moore, second movie for Julianne Moore as well.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I went ahead and I'd been a long time since I've seen it, and I watched it again this weekend. And I'm like, I'm looking forward to talking about this.
Do you have regrets?
It's worth watching just for Orlando Jones. He's the highlight of this movie.
I've not watched this movie in a long time, so I'm excited.
It's super dumb. David, you get to see David Duchovny's ass because he moons somebody at one point.
Sweet.
So
You got a lot of movies with asses in them. I'm just.
Oh, speaking of, I watched Joyride again this weekend just to watch it, which I'm doing later this year, and I had completely forgotten about the scene where they have to get naked and go into the diner. Mm-hmm. You see full Steve Zahn and Paul Walker ass. That movie is fantastic, by the way. You talk about stuff that's aged well.
Yeah,
it's still
that'll
fantastic.
Be a fun conversation. Hopefully, get Steve on. I'm trying. I'm efforting. We're efforting. All right. Well, got a bus to catch. So until next week, smell y'all later.
Well, in the words of Samantha Mumba.
Yeah, we all remember.
Baby, come on over tonight. We can make it all right. Take a piece of my heart and go from the start. Say that you want me again and again. Say that you need me to be more than just your friend. All right.
Fantastic.
Time.